All right, all right, all right. Well. Happy New Year to you all. I am David Lorenzo Glover, and also on my side, my co host Herbert Lewis. We are streaming live from the StreamYard platform and also streaming live on YouTube as well as Facebook. Last week, our topic was why do emotional, unavailable men exist? Tonight, January 4th, our main topic will be why do parents physically fight with teenage children? Oh boy, I'm sure a lot of that goes on. Maybe not really talked about, but I know it happens. Now, let us look at the other two remaining essential talking points. Putting your best foot forward. It's 2021. It's that time. You always got to start off with a plan, and hopefully, by putting your best foot forward, you're able to accomplish those goals by, the end of the year, or at least at the midway point, depending on how you break it down. What makes you feel appreciated, and is saying thank you enough? Sometimes saying simply just a thank you maybe not enough, especially if you feel like they're saying it to patronize you or whatever the issue was to begin with, for you to have to say thank you or be apologetic. It may warrant more, but we'll go deeper into that. Finally, let's see who will be the first winner of the Can You Solve Hers Riddle contest for 2021 for the $20 Cash App stimulus package. Two-time winner Latoya A. Hannon closed out 2020 as the champ, so I can't wait to see who will win. All right, got Scorpio T in. Bring her in. What's good with you, Herb? Happy New Year.
Man, New Year, same grind. The things don't change as far as I'm concerned. So, I'm just sitting back in the pocket like a quarterback, watching my linemen protect me so I can get these shots off. That's it.
All right. Hey Latoya, thanks for joining us tonight. Hey Amy, as well. Thanks for joining. Scorpio T, thanks for joining us. How you feeling? And Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. I'm feeling all right. I was kind of laughing at your description of all your linemen and everything. All I know is your football team better be the one with that description.
No, well, I'll put it like this. We were missing 4 of the 5 starters that we began the year with, so we had to do some plug and play. And the plugging we did, but the playing we didn't do until late.
Must be a Bears fan.
No,
I am, so that's why I said it.
no, Dallas fan.
Gotcha.
You know, I'm a Steelers fan, so we know next week will be Wild Card Weekend, so it'll be less people talking about their teams because they'll be sitting home eating popcorn. So we'll see who can survive next weekend, which is always a fun time to me, especially when it's football all weekend, and then if they throw some boxing matches into it, boy, I'm in heaven. That is great.
I'm gonna be holding my breath.
All right, so we got Marita, Little John. Thanks for joining us tonight. Hey, Ebony, again, thanks for joining. So, Herb, we came up with that subject about why do parents physically fight with teenage children. I wonder what drove you to come up with that topic area. That's very interesting.
Man, I was walking. I left my house and walked up the street, and I was headed to Tops. Tops is the local grocery store for people who are unaware you live in a different part of the country. And I heard some commotion. And now it sounded like somebody was actually banging on the door trying to get into a house. So I thought at first, I said, okay, maybe it's just, just a minor situation. But then I heard the yelling and the continued banging. So the way my block is set up is that, of course, there's 2 streets, but there's an alley that goes in between it. So if you picture a capital H kind of turned like this, so it goes up and then out. I look and I can see down all the way to the other block, and I'm looking at people coming off the porch, and there's a young man coming off the porch, and then there's a lady screaming behind him. Now, the lady at that particular point looked like she could have been his aide, so I really just, kind of thought, okay, two people, he got into a heated situation. He wants to leave the house. He's out. She's yelling at him, whatever the case is. So I keep walking, and I get up that way, and I turn. Now he's running up the street, and she's following behind him, screaming, "You're under house arrest. You can't leave." I'm thinking, okay, wait a minute. If there's something going on and he wants to leave the house, whether he's under house arrest or not, let him go. Eventually, when things reach a calmer point, he will come back home, particularly if he's under house arrest. He has nowhere to go. And the ankle monitor is going to notify his parole officer that he's violating, that he's not trying to go back to jail. So I go on the tops. About 15, 20 minutes later, I come back down because I had intended on doing something, coming back the way that I normally don't come. So, they're still out there fussing. He's out there standing next to the car, and I recognize him from my mentoring program. So I'm standing outside and I'm speaking to him. I'm saying, "Yo, what's going on?" He runs down the situation. And I'm thinking, okay. And she pops out the car. And she's talking about, "Look what he did to his car." I said, "Ma'am," I said, I do not want to be involved. I said, "I'm just here with him till the police arrived," because the police had already been called. He had notified me that they called the police, and he's, on probation and everything, which I had already known. Now she starts, me talking about, how do I know him? That's none of your business. Just know that I know. Because if you had been doing your job as a mother, his situation wouldn't be what it is. In other words, if you were a better parent, he would be under house arrest and have criminal charges pending as a minor. He was under the age.
That ain't true.
Whoa. I know that's going
That
to
is
bring some
not
smoke,
true.
whatever.
I'm ready for it tonight. So
Hold on, before
You
y'all
better
get
get
going,
ready because that statement's super bogus.
before we get
Super
going,
bogus.
let me shout out what's going on, Fred. Thanks for joining us.
What up, good brother? How y'all doing?
We good, man. Happy New Year.
Good, happy
Same
New
to
Year.
you and yours, yo. Same to you.
All right, now y'all can have at it because Herb, you said something.
Get him. Go ahead, get it.
So I'm kicking the
What
man.
type
So
of backwoods from behind the scene trash is that? That whole statement was messed up.
hold on, let me lay it out. So I'm kicking with the young man. I asked him, I said, "Where's the father at?" He said, "He's here." I said, "Is he in the house?" He said, "No, he's over on Ivor Street." I said, "That's what I'm talking about. He's not here." I said, "Now ask yourself, why is he not here?" I said, "I don't know." I said, "Now think about it." I said, "Your mother laid down with a man to procreate and bring you into this world, and he is not here with her. The reason why he is not here with her is the same reason why she's treating you like she doesn't treat she treated him." And all of a sudden the light went on. I said, "If he couldn't deal with her, then what makes you think you're going to be able to deal with her?"
First of all, what makes you think that she is the cause of any problem that a person make a decision to go out and make?
Hold on. Now she's getting out of the car and she's trying to tell me that I have to leave from in front of her property. I broke it down to her. I said, "Ma'am," I said, "this is public property." I said, "This is an easement. You don't get to tell me what to do just because you don't like how I'm talking to you." I said, "That's part of your problem. I'm not the one you need to be going in on." So I
Let me
said,
tell you something.
hold on. See, this is the problem that black women have. They don't know when to be quiet.
You can say
Oh,
that,
man.
but man, you throwing so many smoke, you throwing
Listen,
so much shade and smoke. I can't let you go for
you
too much
have the
longer.
opportunity to talk. I said, lay it out. You keep cutting me off when you don't have the entire portion of the story. I'm going to give you hers and his. Now, he's still standing there, and the passenger side window comes down, and his sister, who's about 8, 9, maybe 10 years old, is talking about, "This is why that girl is playing you with a false pregnancy claim." Now, where in the world does a 10-year-old girl learn about a false pregnancy claim other than the mother? That's what I'm talking about, the piss poor nature in which black women treat their sons. She's out here physically fighting with this boy when she should have just let him go on about his business. He was going to come back home just like he did. Now you can talk.
First of all, I'm gonna tell you this. And I'm gonna be as nice as I can about this, okay? I'm gonna be as nice as I can. I'm gonna tell you to take that toxic masculinity statement and put that in your back pocket. It does not have bearing. With that being said, I know you probably had little sisters and little brothers. I know I did. Little sisters and little brothers always got their ears open in places they should not be, even when they have. You done told them to go to bed, they done snuck out the bed. Ain't no telling where you hear that from. Could have heard it from your mama. But just the simple fact that you throwing an indictment at the mother and giving the father a pass, I got a whole problem with. I got a whole problem with because you don't have to be with the mother to be a father. Be a father. Step in and be the man because she can do her best to raise him to be a man. She can try and do her best, but he needs his father. So I'm feeling some type of way about the statement that if she was a better mother, he wouldn't be in that situation. And I just don't agree with that. I think you must have forgot how much weight your friends carry with you when you're a 15-year-old child. Well, for a lot of children, their friends' words carry a lot more weight than their parents do because they don't want to be ridiculed by their friends. You don't know what decision he made. They got him on house arrest. She had to agree to the house arrest for him to be there. So apparently she had went to bat for him. So to say that if she was a better mother, he wouldn't be in that situation. Now, I know that if you're a single mother and you raising boys, you better have a very strong hand because when they think they're bigger than you and stronger than you, you're gonna have a problem if you don't already have some type of hold and respect from them for you. If they were fist fighting, I would venture to say he doesn't have very much respect for his mother or himself. Otherwise, he wouldn't be on house arrest. Now you can talk.
Now, I want to chime in and Scorpio T said something valuable when she said about the influence of your peers at that age, and that's definitely true. That at that age, your peers what they think of you will mean more, unless you're that rare breed that has that voice of reasoning inside your head to say, you know what, my parents, my grandparents, they do too much for me. They're gonna be there at the end of the day when my friends may be. And I'm not trying to toot my horn, but that used to be my philosophy. There used to be a lot of things we would do, but I would only take it so far because I said, hey, my mother, my grandparents, they work hard and I don't have to lack for anything. So the hell with y'all. Y'all can call me whatever names y'all want to or whatever the case is. Excuse my language. I could have been all types of pussies or whatever the case is. I take that because you know what? Y'all still gonna come knocking at the door tomorrow to see if I'm gonna come outside and hang out, and that was me. But some kids, they don't get it. They just their friendships and their peers mean more than anything, and they would rather go at odds with their parents than to um, put up some resistance with their friends. So a lot of that goes on. I know by working in the middle school, high school, I did it at all levels, so I see it, and a lot of times I have to pretty much get in their ass and say, you better think about your parents. You better think about the things they do for you before you
Think
decide to go to bat with these friends.
You also have to think too, if it's him, his, his mother and his sister in the house, he's surrounded by women all the time. The more time he spends with his friends, that's the male thing for him. So once you begin to bond with them, they word becomes stronger than yours. I just feel like there's always an indictment made at the mother, and the father gets a pass. I don't
You know,
have to get along with you. We don't have to be friends, but you do need to parent your son because there's only so far I can take him. I
it's
can
not,
teach him what I think a gentleman should be, but I can't teach him necessarily what a man should be. Like a man, see, I believe that a man shows his son how to be a man, and a mother teaches him how to be a gentleman. A father shows his daughter how to be a woman, and the mother teaches her how to be a lady. So when one is absent, there's an imbalance. You don't know And just as a sidebar, you know, troubled children sometimes don't tell you why they have trouble. You have to really have a real special bond with your kids for them to even open up to you about things. So if that's not there and she got all the stress on her and she's feeling like, you know, this is what I got. You're gonna deal with the best way you can. I'm not saying that her methods are acceptable because I don't think you should fight your kids if you don't have to. You know what I'm saying? I don't think that should be your go-to thing. But you have to look at it when it's a single parent. You have to look at it from the same point that you would look at it when a man has everything on his head. He may be better equipped to handle that. She may not be.
But see, these are the questions that people never ask themselves when situations arise like this. He didn't get to be that way overnight. He wasn't born at 16. So if the lack of fathers and fatherly presence is a problem, then why don't women give those boys to their fathers the moment they are born?
Who says that he wants to be a participant? Who says that she didn't try?
No, you're skirting the question. Why don't they?
That's not skirting the question. You can't pull a gun on a man and make him be a father if he don't want to be one. He he has a child. Why doesn't he take his tail over there and do what he needs to do then?
Hold on. Fred, you got something to say? I'm gonna let you go ahead first.
Yeah, because
No,
me right now, I'm dealing with it. I'm dealing with an issue somewhere like that. I haven't seen my son. I haven't. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yes,
hear
sir.
you. But somebody got to mute something. They got I don't know if they got two things
I
going
haven't.
on.
Go ahead. You good?
Um, due to me having a breakup with one of my child's mother, um, she took the initiative to take my son away from me. I mean, I still pay child support for him. I haven't seen my son in like 5 years. You know what I mean?
Wow.
I'm going through the course of that now. I think in some instances, man, it's a lot of kids, a lot of boys what out here. Uh, how can I say? Some fathers may not be around because moms is trying to prove a point. Whatever that point may be, I don't know. You know what I mean? But I have a total of 6 children. I'm a father. I'm there for all 6 of them, except for one. Because me and mom didn't get along, but she felt the initiative to keep them away from me. Because apparently she looks at the child support money as more important than me spending time with them. I told we had a difference. I had told her that I believe time is worth more than money. And first thing the chick told me is that my child can't eat time. So my baby mother opted out for the money. But for my other children, I spend time and money with them. But he's a boy, and she trying to raise him on his own, on her own. Even though I'm still there, but making it seem like I'm absent. I don't know. Like I don't know if that's gonna come back on her or me, but I believe it's just gonna damage my son because he's missing out on the golden years from his other siblings and as of me, of course, in the process.
Well, let me say this, Fred. I mean, you definitely could go down there. I don't know if your child is out of the, even if he is out of this, if he's not in the same state, you could definitely go down and put it for a joint petition or something, unless she has a reason to deem you unfit. So, and I know sometimes us brothers don't want to have anything to do with court contact or leave our fate in the hands of probably some Caucasian judge, but I think you could, in that situation, you could do that. That's one thought. Then another thought, when Herb said, "Why don't you hand over your boy to the father from day one?" We all know that, man. We need, as little boys, we need that maternal instinct. We need that motherly love. That has to happen, or you're gonna find a lot of bitter men, bitter little boys without that motherly love. So I don't know if that's the option either. maybe in due time when he gets older. But I think at the beginning stages, you need that mother present, and that's why sometimes we had that damn shaken baby syndrome when you have frustrated ass parents, whatever, that can't cope with little babies that need to be loved.
No, I don't. I
Well,
don't.
I
Hey,
would say
Dave,
this
we'll be the
too.
first.
I don't question that. But what I keep trying to get women to understand is this: you can't have complete control, and when things don't go your way, talk about where's the father at, because by then it's too late. You don't build a building
Wait a minute.
from the second floor. If that child, whether it's male or female, does not have a solid foundation, then anything you do is going to be corrupted. This is why I say give that child, especially a boy, to the father. That's not to say that the mother can't visit and have input. But we want women to understand that the same thing that you want men to do, you're unwilling to do. So where's the equality in that? If you want a man to
Well,
fight for his right to be a father, then why don't you have to fight for your right to be a mother? See, we look at Western culture and think it's all hunky dory because the women are walking around free of any masculine input until they need masculine input. By then, it's too late for the boy that's gone wrong at 16, 17. Because by the time he gets to be 18, he's no longer a minor and he's in the court system, and then he's done. This is
well,
what women
listen.
understand, and this goes back to what show we did a couple weeks ago when we talked about the most unprotected person in this country is the black boy. But nobody wants to hear that because it doesn't feed into their narrative and it doesn't make them feel good. Because then they have to turn around and look at themselves in the mirror and say, what role did I play? And my son ended up in the position that he's ended up in, and nobody wants to address that. So we're going to address that tonight.
So let me say this much before you say that. Western culture is flooded with male influence. If you just
Not
basically
all.
look,
It is not,
it's
especially
it is flooded. It
where
is
72%
flooded
of
with
kids are born out of wedlock to a single mother. So there is no masculine input there. If there's you said it yourself. The, your,
I, I'm
you said
trying to respond to you. I'm
go
trying
ahead.
to respond to you. When you look at Western culture as a whole, if you look at a lot of the job markets, the political powers, so on and so forth, it's flooded with male influence. There's not a lot of the women are held to a certain um, standard or a certain position, so on and so forth. So that's not a fair assessment. However, y'all heard me say I have three sons. Do not
Mhm.
ever think that I am not sensitive to the plight of the man because I'm living it. I got a granddaughter that I don't see. And that's primarily because mom and my son couldn't get along. So I understand that. When I say you should not go, let me tell you something. I'm sorry, but I mean this from my heart. I wouldn't care if my son was with his dad or anybody else. If I want to see them, I'm going to take the police if I have to go and see my child. You're not going to bar me, full custody or not. And just by default, not all the time do the, the courts themselves, if you have to go to court, the court themselves, just by default, awards the children to the mother. That's an issue that's more systemic than it is personal. So that would be something that would have to be addressed at a systemic level to begin with. And when I don't, I won't deny that there are some very toxic women, and there are some women who truly believe that the dollar is the almighty being. For them, that's a shame. For their children, it can be hard, but it can still be a balance if they're honest enough about it. Now, I'm not saying you have to sit your kids down and tell you your whole life story and every mistake that you ever made and all of that. But there's nothing wrong with saying, "Hey, we can't get along," or whatever. And my kid's father and I were not together, but I never spoke bad of him to my children. That's not
Well,
my place.
Scorpion, I want
So
you to understand. I'm not. Hold on. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want you to make this point. When I talk about these topics, I'm not making them an individualized topic. I'm speaking on the broad concept. So I don't want you to feel that you have to defend yourself because if you're not guilty, than just talk about the topics and the
It's
situation.
not that. I was leading up to that. I was leading up to that. So, like I said, because it was just me, I never spoke bad in them. I never let my friends speak bad of whoever they were with, so on and so forth. But when there was a times and issues where you pick the phone up and say, "Hey, your child can move in with you," they had that kid for a week and be knocking back at your door because they didn't know what was all entailed. You know what I'm saying? It's easy to get your kid on a weekend or 2 weeks a year or whatever the court say. But when you have to be there 24/7, you do not sleep, your body tired, all your money is going out the window because they growing and you got to buy this. Men sing a different song. They cry about their child support. But when it comes to time to put that time in, and you may be the exception, but when it comes to put that time in, they don't really understand what it really means until that kid is under their roof. And a lot of the times they do not and cannot handle it.
Well, but this is the point. We allow women to fail in being a mother, but we don't allow men to fail being a mother. And to your point, it doesn't matter if a man struggles. In order for him to be more compassionate, more empathetic, and more sympathetic to what a woman has to deal with when she does have that child under her roof and under her supervision, he has to endure the same thing. I don't play favors, and I'm not, and far be it from me to tell a parent how to parent because I don't have any kids. And I'm gonna reference Carlos Muhammad's book, Your Daddy Ain't Shit. That's not a talking trope that a black man came up with. That's a talking trope that the black woman came up with, and it permeates us to this day. And we've been hearing this for almost 50 years. That your daddy ain't shit, you ain't gonna be shit, and none of y'all ain't no goddamn good. So how do you think that resonates with a young boy when he only hears that message? So I'm just talking about that a man should fight to be a parent. We don't ever tell women you have to fight to be a mother.
I
See how
think
that
if you're a trashy mother, you should have
All
to
right.
fight. If
Okay.
you're trash
All
as
right.
a parent, you should have to fight.
All right.
We're gonna let Latoya in. We're gonna let Latoya in. She hasn't had a chance to say anything.
All right. Now I've been listening. I've been processing, and I've seen it from all different sides of the fence. I've seen terrible mothers lose their kids to the fathers because they were terrible mothers. I mean, every woman is not meant to be a parent. That's just it is. It is what it is. And by default, piggybacking off of what Scorpio T said, courts always award custody to the mother. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. The baby always go to the mommy. You know why? Because mommy's baby, daddy's maybe. Babies always go to the mommy because you know mommy is really theirs. You know they really belong to the mommy because that's where they came from. The daddy is always a question mark, which is why they don't always automatically award a child to the father. If a
That
dad,
don't sound good.
I mean, it is what it is, though. But these are the facts. Now, if a father, I'll tell you a story. I had an uncle whose wife decided that she wanted to divorce him, and she was gonna take the kids to VA. And my uncle was like, "Okay, you can go and you can take the kids, but you won't get child support." And he set up an agreement where she could take them out of state, but he got them every other weekend. So fathers have a right to say something. Whether you decide that you want to put in the effort to see your child, now that's a whole
Right.
different story. But to say that it's all the mom's fault that dad is not around, that's not fair. Because let's be real, some of y'all don't want these damn babies when you find out that the woman is pregnant, but you're too much of a coward to admit the shit.
And not
so
only
And
that,
then you
a lot
wonder
of
why
the
women have a bad taste in their mouth. If you don't want the baby from the door, just say so and go about your damn business.
but see this is
not
and see
only
this is
this,
and this
the
is
culture has become so to where a man can just say it ain't mine, and that's the end of his
Yeah, they can
responsibility.
say it's not
A
mine,
woman
walk
can
away
just
from, and
right,
then it's
and that's
like,
it.
oh, when the child go wrong, well, where the daddy at? Off living
Right.
his life
So
because he didn't want to be bothered.
it's
Or
a,
I'll do you one better. I know a woman who has children with a man, and she said to him when they separated, I'll never keep the kids from you. Whenever you want them, call me. If you want, I'll drop them off at somebody else's house so that you feel comfortable coming to get them. He still don't spend time with them. set up bank accounts for them, said, here are their account numbers. You ain't ever got to give me a dime. Put it straight into their account. She got to be a goddamn bill collector just to get him to buy sneakers for the kids.
And that's the way it is a lot. I worked in an orphanage, which is a very heartbreaking experience if you've never been in one. There were family of children there who nobody, including their dad, one family lost their mother. The father would not come get his children. They grew up in a system because he was enjoying his life.
Exactly.
And I feel like there's a tragedy. When it's the mother, she doesn't have that opportunity. You can do all that you can do, but some of them mothers that tried that, the courts told them try it and I'll throw you in jail for neglect. But the father was able to walk away free.
See, I know where Herb want to go with this at. I know he want to go where he want to go.
Well, let me do this. It's 9:30, so I want to drop the riddle. Just be aware that anyone answering the riddle, you need to have a cash app to collect the prize. So even if you guess right and you don't have the cash app, unfortunately, you won't be able to collect, and it's going to go back into the pot for the next week. So let me drop the riddle real quick, and I'll get back to what the topic is.
All right. Well, we're not gonna sit here in silence because that's
Sorry.
uncomfortable.
I was
We're
waiting
not
for
about to
him
do
say something.
that. So this could go in many different directions, and I think, as we all know, hey, it's better to try to have both parents around, and sometimes that doesn't happen, and sometimes babies are created out of situations where shit, y'all don't even know each other middle names or know anything about each other. Now y'all supposed to co-parent. It's so many levels to this. But I'm gonna Herb, go ahead and read the riddle, and we're gonna finish. And I could tell this is gonna be the only essential talking point.
You can't
I
spell
was
Hades without this equipment. Once again, the riddle is you can't spell Hades without this piece of equipment.
talking
And I
to
won't type it. I will only respond to correct answers. So if you're typing in the chat and I don't post the correct answer, that means it's incorrect because I want to be able to at least contribute to the dialogue. Now let's go back to the decision-making process that goes into this. We're not going to talk about anything before 19, let's say about 1995, because then the only methods of birth control that were available for most women was birth control. And a lot of women don't fare well with the hormonal treatment of birth control. So let's say
there
you
were a
have,
lot of others that were available before then too, like the
pardon?
contraceptive cream. I said there were other things that were available, like the contraceptive cream, so on and so forth. That
Yes,
was the
but the one most women used prior to 1995 was hormonal birth control. I know the ring was there, the diaphragm and all those things, but a lot of women didn't like to use it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay.
I can't correct you. I was on appeal, so I can't correct you.
So we talk about what's fair and what's equitable. And we all know that once a man reaches orgasm, his input into bringing a child in this world is done. So there's never going to be a such thing as equitable when it comes to giving birth to a child. That's a woman's domain. The adage, my body, my choice, didn't materialize for nothing. Women want to have that control, and that's fine. Society has ceded that control to them up to the point they can terminate that pregnancy, put that child up for adoption, drop that child off at a hospital, a fire station, and nobody asks a question. Nothing is ever said. It said it's their right to do it. Society will step in and take care of that child. Men do not have that luxury. The only luxury a man does have is walking away when he doesn't have any say, because Just because he engages in sex does not mean he wants to procreate.
Let me ask this question. Does he have the opportunity to wear a condom to
Once,
ensure that
once,
nobody
once
gets
again,
pregnant? I'm asking
once
the question.
again, we are
I'm
talking about
asking
the
the question.
before, not after conception. Deal with
I'm
after
asking the
conception.
question. I'm asking a question because if you don't want to be a father,
Once
no matter
again,
what,
you're talking about before conception. Let's talk about everything after conception.
point. There doesn't have to be a conception if you're responsible with your sexual interactions.
We are talking about children that are already here. What does that have to do with a child that's not here?
Because you said a man don't have a choice but to do nothing but walk away. And I'm saying he has a choice not to
That
have a
is
choice to walk
after conception. You're talking about prevention. If everybody was to prevent childbirth and there wouldn't be any child here, then the situation I encountered would have never occurred.
away. Mm-hmm.
So
Possible.
this is why I said let's not deal with anything before conception, because then you start to get into this, and ultimately the blame shifts back to the men, as if women have had no role in sex.
Everybody has a role in sex.
So let's talk about post-conception.
So post conception, you have 9 months to prepare yourself for a child that you never wanted, right?
Go ahead.
So when 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 a man is in that position, what responsibility does he have?
He doesn't have
I'm
any.
asking.
Correction. He can actually sign away his parental rights.
No, 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 no,
I
no,
was
no.
about to say that. Thank you.
She said, what responsibility does he have, not what abilities.
What
That is his.
responsibility does he have? Right.
That's not a responsibility. Sign away
Yes,
your
it
parental
is.
rights.
You don't want to be bothered. Sign away your rights and go about your business.
Do women really want men to sign away parental rights?
I'd
Do
rather you
you really
sign
think
away
they
your
want
rights
to
and
chase
walk away than for
you?
me to have to deal with my child questioning me about why they daddy don't want to be bothered.
Those questions aren't going anywhere. They still will remain.
Do you really think that people would prefer, or women, to have to chase you down and force you to be a father? I have to haul you into court for you to do what you knew was right. You know what I'm
Don't
saying? The
nobody want
child
to
is
spend their
not.
life being a bill collector chasing some man around.
Right.
Women don't do
The
that. The
child is.
courts do. The courts do it because they're paying child. They're paying for the care of the child. I don't think a lot of people understand how child support
No,
works.
stop, pause. Because that's women that actually go out and get public assistance. Let me tell you, there are a lot of women that don't ask for none of that stuff. They don't get Medicaid, not a food stamp, not a welfare check, none of that stuff. They work however many jobs they got to work to take care of their kids, and they don't ask a father for a dime. They might ask him to spend time with them. I'm gonna tell you something. My mother told me, you ain't gotta be here, but your bank account sure will be. You can either freely spend your time or you can pay. Which do you want? It don't cost you nothing to take your kids to the park and let them play on a swing 10, 20 minutes out of your damn week.
Or to pick up the phone and call. You
Say
know,
happy birthday. It only takes you a minute.
in all fairness, there are women who really do make a living, so to speak. I'm gonna put the quotes up in here, so to speak, with the assistance from all those things that you named. But for the a vast majority, they don't. Nobody wants that. You know what I'm saying? Nobody wants that. So it's just when you have the weight of the world on your shoulders. That woman that you talked about, she had the weight of the world on her shoulders apparently, and just was ill-equipped to deal with it. You don't know what model of a parent she had, so she probably thought she was doing a way better job than her parents. You know what I'm saying? Because she didn't do certain things, even though what she did might not have been right. You don't know what the situation was before you actually saw it. You know what I'm saying? So because that part is hidden, I can't say if what she did was right or wrong. I just don't think that you should have to jump on your kids and physically fight them like they're people you don't know. But
Scorpion,
when you
to your point, yes, I'm aware that you guys don't know, but I know. That's why when she asked who I was, I told her it wasn't any of her business because it wasn't. This was something in our program. We sign NDAs, which means we don't discuss anything that is spoken to between the child and ourselves unless a parent is present. She wanted to know because she was nosy. It wasn't any of her business because what him and I and other people in the program discussed is our business. I knew what his history was. I knew the issues he had prior to me showing up that day. She was unaware, and because she was unaware, she felt she was caught off guard. This is why I don't talk
well,
about anything that I
I'm
don't
just
know.
going to go on record and say, if a strange man is talking to my kid, and my underage child at that,
I'm gonna
and I
ask
say to
questions
you,
as well.
and you tell me none of my business, you really gonna have a problem. Now I'm just being honest.
Okay, but that's
'Cause
fine. I'm ready for that smoke. See, the difference between him and me is I wasn't going to entertain her like he was. And that's what I was trying to tell him. I said, look, I said, the same way your father doesn't entertain her is the same way you don't have to entertain. I said, because women
so
want you
you
to.
demean the boy mama in front of him.
Hold on,
Exactly.
hold on, hold
That's
on.
even worse.
I gotta
Like
add.
that's even worse. You
I gotta add on to
basically
this.
told this child that he don't have to listen to his mother. Like
I
what?
didn't
What?
say that. No, 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 no. I said, you don't have to feed into her nonsense.
Hey, her.
Huge difference.
How
Hey,
do
her.
you know it's nonsense? You don't know what that woman is dealing with her child. You know his side of the story. Do you really know her side of the story? Because there's
I,
three sides to
I
every story.
go ahead,
His,
Let
say
me
it.
hers,
add.
and the
Let me
truth.
hold up. Let me add to this. So I understand, the clause of you not speaking, but to me, wouldn't it have made sense that if you did share, I'm his mentor, and maybe she could give you her version, and because you already got his version, and y'all could work together as a unit, like they say, it takes a village to raise a family. Wouldn't that, to me, have made more sense?
Provided I was there for that. I wasn't. My only thing was making sure that nothing else escalated. Because if he was already running away and she was chasing him, that let me know he was trying to get away from a topic in the situation that he deemed adverse to his well-being.
But
Why?
that, but that,
That
So,
doesn't mean
but
that
that,
though.
but that's the
That
key
doesn't
thing.
mean that.
That's the key thing. We don't know what the issue was prior to him running. It could have been something as small as, damn, why didn't you clean the
it
room?
was
You
small.
supposed to wash the dishes
No,
or
no, it
something like
was
that.
small. It was over a cell phone that he took from, apparently he took from his sister, which is the whole point. Let him go. He's
No,
going to
that's not the
Why is
point.
he taking a
That's
cell
not the
phone from
point.
his sister?
You are
I,
a child
I,
How
and
do
you
you
can
know
do what
he
I
was
tell
even
you to do.
supposed to have a cell phone? He on house arrest.
hold on. Like I said,
And so
I
you
didn't
and your
want
little
to
sister
get
out
into
of
it.
taking.
I
Go
didn't
ahead.
want to get into it, which is why I said that because I wasn't going to be involved in a domestic. I do security. I understand how all that unravels. So when the police came, I didn't want to be called as a material witness to something I couldn't testify to. So y'all looking at this as a him and her. When I interceded and put myself in there, I became a potential person that could be called to testify, which I didn't want. That's why I told her it was none of her business because I didn't want to get
Right.
involved.
You should have minded your business to begin with.
Hold on,
Exactly.
hold on.
Let me
When
tell you
I
something.
when
Being
I
a good
stopped there,
Samaritan can always bite you in the ass in the end. You might want to think about that next time.
when I stopped there, it was to converse with him, not her. She was in the car. She made it a
But
point
that's
to get out of the car and engage me in the conversation. I didn't say anything to her. I
but
have
don't
a
you realize that's part of the problem?
pardon.
That's part of the problem.
There was no problem. Why can I not have a conversation with somebody I know?
Seemed like to me. Listen,
First of
this is,
all, here's the thing.
and,
You
and
should have identified that you were her son's counselor in whatever program that he is
It
in,
wasn't
and
an
that you
entity.
just wanted to make sure he was okay. She probably would have been like, cool, talk to
But
that
when
boy
I said
because
that to
X,
her,
Y, Z, and broke it down for you and then let you handle it. You
no,
should have handled that a little
when
bit
I
better.
said I was here for his benefit to make sure nothing else happened, that's when she was telling me to leave.
But I'm going to also say this. So without addressing the issue, with his mother and saying to him, like, your father does not entertain her foolishness, don't you do it either. You just added extra coals to the fire. You don't know what was going on in the woman's life. You don't know what she had tried. You don't
But
know what that situation was.
this is what women don't understand.
I'm
Your
gonna need you to
primary
stop
job,
saying it.
I'm gonna say it. I don't care who don't like it. Your primary job when you have a kid is to be a parent. So all that dating and stuff
His
you got
primary
going on,
job is to be a goddamn parent
all that
too.
dating
How
stuff
many of
you
them
got
walk
going on,
away?
that
Pause.
becomes
Pump
secondary.
your brakes.
So because she desires to have an adult conversation and adult interactions, that makes her a bad parent?
I never
That
said that.
makes no sense.
You're saying I don't know what's going on in her life.
Listen, listen.
You
Let me. Hold on. Let me
You
interrupt. Let
know
me,
her son's side of the story
Latoya.
from what he told you. What do you know of the mother's side of the story? Have
Let
and
you
you don't
ever
even know if he
actually
told
sat
you
down
the
with
truth.
that parent and asked her about how she handles her child?
You don't
let
even know if he told you the truth though. He could have been
Exactly.
lying
Because
to
kids
you.
lie.
ladies. Let me just interject, and I want to take it from a different perspective. For me, as a counselor, and I seen this, I probably would have told her who I was and explained my relationship with her son. And then once she would have told me the story and said, "Oh, David or Mr. Glover, he took my daughter's phone and then he ran off or whatever the case is," I probably would have pulled him to the side and said, "Come on, man, what's going on, brother?" Because I know I had a relationship with him and try to mediate between all three of us so that we can at least get him back in the house and maybe somehow get the father involved or something. But I would have took the time to hear out all avenues before making a decision. Now, Herb, of course, you know more background information, so I'm not trying to indict you. I'm just thinking
No,
if
my
that
whole,
situation
my whole thing,
came in my forefront.
my whole thing is
I'm
this.
not indicting you either. I'm just saying that, I mean, simple fact with the boy being in the program seems like she's saying somebody help me help my son.
But
Thank
see,
So
you.
this is what I'm talking about. Why do we have to wait to a crisis situation arises before we act?
Well, before we even go to that,
How do
whatever,
you
with the
know she
boy,
hasn't tried to intercede before it got that far? How do you know she hasn't went to the father and say, "Hey, I'm having issues with your son. I need some assistance"? How do
I'm
you know
just
that she has not tried these things? You're making an assumption. Do you have facts?
I never said she did not seek an intervention. That's something you're laying at my doorstep, and but frankly, I'm gonna tell you to take it with you. Because if I didn't say it, don't put it there.
I'm not putting it there.
You
But you
did.
said, why
You
did it
just
have to
did.
get that far? How do you know she didn't try something else before she took it there?
I never said she did not.
well, let me just say this. Let me just say this, whatever. And I think all programs that work with children, it's a great thing. But okay, so obviously they had to sign something for them to
mhm,
get mentored or whatever by y'all, right?
Correct.
right.
So also there probably should be some type of parent orientation or whatever, or agenda like, okay, this is what we're going to be meeting about. These are the things that we're going to be doing so that the parents could be in the forefront. So therefore, everybody can know each other and y'all could be on the same page with every situation. So they could say, when that kid getting out of line, keep on talking, keep on doing this. I'm going to call Mr. Herb. You won't be able to go to this basketball tournament. You won't be able to go to this event. And you can use that stuff as tools instead of all the chaos. So I don't know.
Believe me, we try everything in our power to get the parents to come to the program. The
But
only
then the
thing,
kids shouldn't be allowed it in if the parents can't if they
but we
can't
don't want,
show up.
but we don't want to punish the kids because their parents don't want to be involved. I understand what you're saying, and you're not wrong. You're absolutely correct. We're lucky if we can get the parents to drop the kids off at practice or to the program and come in and meet us. They drop them off and they're gone. They use us as glorified babysitters.
And I understand that point too. I know that happens. I know that happens, but I think at a certain point, a parent has to show their face, whether to sign them out or drop them off or something, you have to have some type of face contact. Uh, I don't know. And I understand y'all, y'all fighting the battle. You don't want to punish the kids. The kids want to be a part of something. You're like, all right, we don't want
But
to
don't you have
not
to meet the
include
parent in
them.
order for them to sign off on it to begin with?
Not at the, no, because the only time we need parental permission is when we actually taking them out of town to a basketball game or to an event. Let's say if I want to, let's say if I want to take them to, to Corning Memorial, to the Corning Glass Museum, we let the parents know you have to sign this permission slip because this is what we're doing. But for the most part, everything we do is in the city right now until we get to a point where we actually have the funding and everything in place to take them out of town for extended excursions. So anything we do in the city doesn't require parental permission other than the acknowledgement that this is the program and this is what we're doing.
Well,
We
I
can
think it.
So
Well,
when
I think
I
an
when
agenda or something has to be put in place. And the parents have to know what is going on in the program, and they
oh,
have to agree
absolutely no.
to it.
We lay it out for them. There's nothing that we do that the parents don't know about. So any events, any fundraisers where they're going to after school, if they're coming with us to the program, they know. It's not that they don't know, but like I said, we can't get the parents to show up. We can't even get them to fundraise. We can't even get them to show
so
up for a fundraiser when everybody from the organization is there so they can meet us because they're too busy living their other life.
Hold on.
This is
Now,
why I said that
so
when you
when
have
I ran my I'm
this is why I
sorry.
say when you have a child, all that ancillary stuff stops. You made
So
a commitment to be a parent.
I,
This is
I,
why I harbor ill will against any woman who decides to have an abortion. I understand. I've been there. I made that decision along with the potential mother of the child that this was in our best interest was to terminate this pregnancy because long term there's going to be a situation that occurs that's not going to be advantageous to you, myself, or the child. This is what women don't want to do because they feel that that child is the only thing that they have that's going to love them unconditionally. And there's a book called
That is
Promise.
not true.
Let me get this out. There's a book called Promises I Can Keep While Poor Women Choose Motherhood. Read that book and it'll give you some insight into what I'm talking about.
so I'm gonna say this. When I ran my tutoring and mentoring group, I brought the parents in and I sat the parents down and said, listen, what is it that you need from this program to help your child? Help me help your baby so that he can be or she can be better than where they are now. Without that parent's valuable input, I can only work on what I see. You're not in my presence all the time, but you are at home. And what occurs at home doesn't always occur, let's say, in the street. So without the parents' input, I may think you need help with uh, coming out of your shell. Well, when your mama tells me at home all you do is bully your other siblings, I know that there's a different problem I need to address. So without the parents' input, you're not able to properly help the child
and, and
because
I
you don't know. Go
and,
ahead.
and and I agree with that. And that's when you have a needs assessment, or something going home, and the parents saying, "This is what you need to work on with my child," because no one knows their kid better than the parent. So then that's where you get ideas and programming for. Now, Swanda says structured programming should not be used as a punishment or a reward. Sometimes, remember this. Well, I learned this from Counseling 101. Sometimes with kids, the name of the game is manipulation, whether you believe it
And
or not. If you know it's something that they value and something they want to go to, you may have to use that to get what you want. So to say structured programming should not be used as a punishment or reward, oh yeah, you're going to use that sometimes, whatever, whether it's against or for them, because you know it's something they may look forward to. You can't have no star basketball player that doesn't want to do his work, doesn't want to do his chores, and want to misbehave at home. But every time he gets to lace up them sneakers and go get on the court, this is about making use the best possible adults that they can be. So it's a lot involved. So I don't necessarily agree with that statement at all. I think you have to
Like,
use what you can to manipulate kids to get the best out of them. You might not like that
you know,
word
and
manipulate, but that's the truth of the
you
matter.
have to bear in mind that 15 and 16-year-old kids are nothing but a ball of emotions and hormones. They don't have clear thinking on no good day, which is why they wind up in a lot of situations they should not be in.
But
So
this, go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
But this is why we always talk about addressing situations before they occur. And case in point, we have when and it's like David said, we do an assessment with every kid that comes in there. We ask what the problems are at home. If there's any issues with the father, what is your relationship with him? What is your relationship with the father? Those are questionnaires we have them fill out in length, so we understand what each individual person needs, and we address those needs. The problem comes in when what we teach isn't reinforced at home. We can't go into each individual home as much as we try to help address everything. And it's like I said when I ran for the school board. A child is impacted by three things: home, school, and the community. If there's a lapse in either one of those things, that child is at risk. A lot of these kids, the only time they get structure and help is when they're in school. They don't get it in the community, and they certainly not getting it at home. So when those two are lacking and they come to us, the first thing we're trying to do is we're trying to stabilize them. We're trying to get them to say, hey, look, we understand what you're going through right now. It's tough. It's almost to the point where you don't want to be home. But every day you get through is a day closer that you will be to being able to establish yourself in the world where you don't have to deal with the things that's going on. You might even have to sleep on.
That could be
Now,
another
let me
issue.
ask you something.
If the,
You said that when y'all refer to child,
Nope.
y'all
We
well, when a child comes to you,
Yes.
you interview the child and ask them about what are they dealing with at home. At what point do you ask the parent, what are some issues that you, or what are some things that you would like us to address with your child that you may be dealing with at home? Because part of reinforcement is also knowing what is it that they're doing at home. Because a kid can tell you that, my mom just get on me because she don't like me because I look like my daddy, or some crazy stuff like that. And that might not even be it. It might be something as simple as, y'all, I just want my child to do the damn chores around the house without me having to turn this into a big old theatric show with him running down the street because I want him to do one simple thing.
I
But see,
want to give, I want to give something. I worked for a company called Family Action Network. Okay, and we worked with a lot of children that were in the system and a lot of children that had nobody. And so what I learned, what I won't even say what I learned, what I became aware of is that you have to do a little bit more than listen to what kids say. We had a child who just wouldn't stop running away from home. She was out in the streets doing everything, sneaking out the house, all types of crazy stuff. The mother is, about to go to her grave, so to speak, worrying about this child. So I'm like, well, what is really happening? The problem was the child felt like the mother took them to church too much. So you got your whole entire family caught up in the system because you didn't want to go to church. You're not old enough to make that decision, for one. And for two, it's a safety issue for you to be left home alone. So you have a big problem because she wanted to take you to church. There's no harm in that. With that being said, this is why it's necessary to ask about almost every aspect. It's necessary to talk to the people that's involved in everybody's life, because what affects your child affects you. What affects you affects your child. And I think a better method is to teach parents rather than saying, hey, your dad's not there, this is the reason why your mom. I think giving parents tools, effective tools, is a better measure than going about it in uh far away manner, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Let me ask you this question, this Scorpion. How do you address a parent that's uncooperative?
Well, you have to find that person that can work with that child, parent rather.
How do you find a parent that's uncooperative?
I was in charge of a daycare for
No,
several
no,
years.
no.
Let me
Answer
I'm,
the
let
question.
me answer
Have you
your
tried home
question.
visit?
Let me answer the question. I'm saying I ran a daycare for several years. You have 100,000 different type of personalities. Okay, so you have parents that are cooperative. You have parents that are not cooperative. You have parent people that are just outright hostile. And I had a few of them. And the way that I addressed that was quite simple. Listen, sir, ma'am, my job is to not only keep your child safe, but to give them the best that I got. I cannot do that without your help. You know your child better than anybody. I need your help. I don't want to be your enemy. I need to be someone who can assist. Let me help you help your child. I clearly see you stressed out. So let me help you. And they can be hostile, they can be uncooperative and things like that. And you have to give them the idea or let them know what's important in this process. I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help.
It's
So,
all about relationship building. And I can give example as far as that. I remember when I worked for the Niagara Falls School District, and I had a position. I had to go out and I had to talk to parents, and I had to. It was called pupil service worker, and I had to get try to get them to sign paperwork for like to receive special ed services. And I remember it was this one family. They had been trying to get this kid to get some services for years, but the parent was uncooperative, never did it. So meanwhile, the child was reading a couple grades below level and all that. I went out, and just because this parent didn't know me per se, but knew my mother, knew my aunts, knew who my father was, she ended up signing the paperwork. And she was like, you know what? I don't trust, because sometimes it's a trust issue when
Mm-hmm.
you're dealing with your kids and other adults. And she was like, I'm gonna come after you, Mr. Glover, if something go wrong. She said, but because I know of your family and I feel like you're a good person because of who you are, because of your family members, I'm gonna sign this paperwork. And so, because I told her, I was like, listen, we can't, we got to get your baby some extra help. We can't keep going down this road. She's struggling and all that. So I broke it down to her. She said, but you know what? No one ever explained it to me like that. So sometimes we have to explain things to parents because they might have some resistance or the, not being able to trust. So needless to say, she signed the paperwork. I came back to work pretty much, wow, slammed that shit on the desk, whatever. And like, here you go. And they're like, how did you do that? How did you get her to sign it? And I said, nah, I don't think, nah. I was humble. I just said, hey, I kind of explained the situation, but I wanted to say to them, it's because it's about relationship building. You just can't
exactly.
send stuff home without having conversations with parents because some things they simply may not understand. We can't automatically assume that they understand. So unless we take the time and break stuff down to them, then they say, "Oh, okay, so that's what that meant." Or whatever the case. Because sometimes kids come home with permission slips and just say, "Here, mom and dad, sign this," and you just sign it. Don't read. Shame on us. Sometimes that happens, but I think that has a lot to do with it as well. That's just my 2 cents. Hey, Rebecca, how you doing?
Hey,
Want to make sure you got a
somebody
chance to say
catch me
something.
up. What are we talking about? Hey, Mom.
It's been a lot. It's been a lot.
Well, are we talking about teachers?
No,
No,
we're
we're
talking
talking
about
about
parents
parenting.
that fight with their teenage kids.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm late because my daughter's a teacher, and she was just here, just crying on my shoulder about how hard it is teaching right now online because all of her all of her kids are online right now. And if the ones that are not, they have her in the school, but she's in a room and all her kids are in separate classrooms, either virtually or at home. And she's a gifted and talented teacher. And she's just struggling because the school won't give her the technology that she needs to keep up with her kids. And she really always brings it back to the parents. One little thing will go wrong and she's like, go get your mom or dad. And the kid, she said most of the kids will just sign off before they'll ask their parents for help. And I was trying to explain to her how this is trickling downhill, and that even though her job is tough, there's a single parent out there somewhere that's making a decision. My kid is going to be stupid for a year so that I can go to work and feed y'all, or I'm going to try to do 2 jobs at once, which is for almost impossible. So it's always going to be worse for somebody. But I really wanted to be here on time because I have a 20-year-old. He's my last one. And if this boy is not giving me, he's trying to kill me. I do believe that he's trying to send me to an early grave. He is. I will be the first to raise my hand and say that I spoiled all 3 of my children. Probably a product of my childhood because I didn't grow up having a lot and I just didn't want them to go without. And I see the effects of that now. I have nobody to blame but myself. So, and I will always take credit for that. My oldest daughter is a school teacher doing just fine. She's moving back home next month because she's buying a house. So I have no complaints there. My oldest son is 31. He's disabled, so he will live with me for life. But
is he that old?
Yeah.
Wow.
Bussy britches. Yeah. He's that old.
That's an inside joke, don't ask.
He really doesn't give me problems. And the one that I really thought was just going to be all that in a bag of chips is the one that I really believe is trying to secretly kill me. And we've never had a physical fight. I grew up in an abusive household, so that's probably another reason why my kids are spoiled. I would really never lay a hand on them unless I've just felt it was absolutely necessary. And I think that was over by the time they were like 10, them spankings, and stuff like that. But I do find myself doing a lot of yelling and screaming when it comes to him. He scholarshiped for football. And he signed his letter of intent without ever saying a word to me. So he ended up at a college that when he got there, he didn't like the surroundings he was in. He was happy with the program, but he was homesick. He ended up suffering a concussion, and they put him on the whole protocol where they pull him out of class, can't be on his cell phone. He couldn't drive. He couldn't watch TV, blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they forgot to integrate him back into class, and he ended up failing his first year because they forgot to introduce him back into class. And by the time the coach found out about it, there was really nothing they could do. Then COVID hit. He ended up back home taking online classes, and he's miserable, and it's starting to show, and it's turning into anger for me. I really don't know what to do for him. When I say I'm lost. So there tends to be a lot of yelling going on around the house because he spends most of his days playing video games. He has a job, but he ain't doing anything. He doesn't want to go to school anymore. I think he identifies with being an athlete. So if he's not playing football, he doesn't see anything else in front of him. And I don't know how to get him to realize that he's more than just an athlete.
I will tell you this. He has to find something. You guys have to find something that can replace that. Because I'll tell you this much. When I got out of high school and I wasn't participating, the funny thing about athletics, especially for boys, is it creates structure. I performed better academically when I ran track and played football. I was a B+, almost A student. And when I wasn't involved in athletics, my grade slipped. And I don't know what it is about athletics and boys.
I think because you have to do one to get the other. but
Right.
he literally with COVID, so he can't go out and play a pickup game. And we're so limited in what we can do. But when I know he's lost, but I have never felt so lost as a parent, and it shows in anger because literally I'm done,
Yeah,
and I'm not
Now,
playing.
where
I
this
don't
is
know
Did
what
he
else to
have
do.
any other hobbies
this is a,
besides like playing ball?
My son was outside of football. He ran track. He was a 12-month athlete. Literally, he went from summer track to football. When football was over, he ran indoor track. When indoor track was over, he was running high school track. When high school track was over, he was back to summer track, which crossed over with, especially with this being Texas, they train year round for football. So he stayed busy with athletics. When he had free time, he was, with his friends, and I didn't bother him too much because he stayed busy. He's carried a 3.7 GPA. It probably could be better, but it wasn't nothing to sneeze at. So I really didn't have a reason um to complain or to be worried, because his grades were fine. He knew what he wanted to do with his life, and everything really was geared around sports. He said if he couldn't play, he always wanted to coach. So I talked to him about a kinesiology degree, physical therapy, OT, getting his teaching license, something of that. And he seemed to be fine, with all of that, seemed to be well adjusted. But looking
but
back
see,
on it, clearly I missed something in there, and I don't know what I
I
missed
don't. Yeah, yeah.
because
I
he
would.
is
this is a
just
clear example of what we were speaking about when I said a mother can't raise a boy to be a man. This is a point where the father needs to step in. So
See,
if he has chosen not to do that, and I don't know that that's the case, but I'm saying without that there, this is a classic story of what happens.
and I don't
and
even
He
know.
can
and
do all,
I
I don't
tried
even
to
know.
put good men, in his life. His father lives there
mhm.
in Niagara Falls and did what he could when he was there. And I can remember the conversation where he stopped requesting for him to come visit because he was so involved in sports, and I didn't agree with that, but it was a conversation between the two of them. Me and his dad didn't have a really good working relationship, but we were definitely on the same team when it came to parenting. But I always tried to his coaches were very involved in his life, and any man that I knew that I thought was worth their weight in salt, you know, I put them in Earl's life, and he really was surrounded by people, especially men that had his best interests at heart, really promoted academics versus athletics and being a well-rounded individual. Um,
Mhm.
how Earl chose to perceive that or take that information and move with it, I guess is probably my biggest question now, because when I say this young man is lost, he won't really talk to me about what's wrong, but as a parent you can feel it. And I know something is wrong. I just don't know what it is. And you know how women get, if you don't tell us, then we just go all off the deep end with our thoughts about
You
what
know. You know
what the
what it
problem
is.
could be.
You know what it is.
I
I
don't
mean,
know what it
you know,
is.
you know what it is. What his passion is something that interesting has been removed from him. Whatever. No one
Yeah.
ever expected this to happen. No, you take stuff like this for granted. You always think it was going to be there. Like there's never a reason why I wouldn't be able to play sports or
Right.
whatever the case is. So now this has been taken away. Like I said, I've been in education for 26 years. Never had I thought would go by unless by choice that I would go damn near almost a year without seeing students face to face, whatever. And when your passion is taken away from you, you feel empty inside.
I've
You're
never
lost,
seen
whatever.
anybody so
Well,
sad
I'll
without
put it to
saying they're sad. And he is just literally, it feels like he's folding in on himself.
well,
He
he
Mhm.
is. Let me ask
tried.
you this question. Is it possible that some of his teammates, if this is permissible, there, I'm not sure what what the governor of Texas or what's going on in your city or your county, is it possible that you can get a group of his people together so they can just run, take up rollerblading or something of that nature to where he's occupied physically? So he's actually doing something outside of just being sedentary playing video games. Because I know for me personally, when I try and stay involved in sports in some way, shape, or form. This is why I go to the high school basketball games or certainly the football games, because it's a piece of me. And if you remove that piece of me, then you might as well be amputating the limb. And I'm not the same if you amputate a limb, whether it's an arm or a leg. And that's what he's suffering from. He needs something to fill that void. It's like nature, they say nature abhors a vacuum. So what he's filling his time with isn't fulfilling him in the manner that he was previously fulfilled. So there has to be some way that he can,
every now and again he gets out and he plays some flag football, tag football, whatever they call it, with his friends, and they're trying to form a league, but you know, there's still only so much he can do. And a friend of mine that I worked with just sent me a text message saying that he wanted Earl to come coach with him. He's got a group of little kids. I know I can't wait for him to get home, but I agree with, for the longest, what she said about not being able to raise a boy. I'd have fought you all day on that. I really would have, because I am a firm believer that loving your children, raising them, male or female, you can do that successfully. But now I would kill for his dad to be here. I would kill to be able to put him on a plane and send him home to his father, because even though he won't say it, I feel like at this point, at this stage in his life, he needs somebody to make him square his shoulders off, because all I really want to do is come back to my room and either cry or be mad for him. There is no in between for me.
Have
right
you
now.
tried reaching out to his dad and like explaining the situation and getting his input in on it? Maybe
there's not going to be
he
anything
won't
his
talk.
father can do. This
He
is
won't
his
talk.
issue right now.
Yeah,
There's
he
nothing his
won't.
father can do.
Yeah,
That's not true.
him
That's not true.
I'm
personally.
telling you, as a man, there's nothing his father can do. Listen, this is a him issue. He has to find something within himself that's going to drive him so he can get back out there. There's nothing nobody else can do. He has to move forward. He has to find a way to move forward.
I hate to use this example. He doesn't have a drug. He doesn't have a substitute drug
He
or
doesn't.
high,
And
whatever.
you know,
He
the
doesn't.
thing is most of the, he chose this college because it was a Baptist college, which surprised me. Earl's very quiet about his faith. And his sister warned him, you know, when you go to schools like that, usually they do their dirt underground because they have a certain standard they have to meet going to a faith-based college.
Yeah.
And most of his friends smoke weed, they drink a little, and Earl is so against that he's against it. So he ended up spending a lot of time in his dorm room by himself, because everybody else is out partying, having a good time. And the next biggest college was like 35 miles away.
Yeah.
And so he really voiced his opinion quick about wanting to come home. And I think he just kind of self-sabotaged himself when he got his concussion. They sent a letter home to me explaining what was going on, and I kept up with Earl, and I just made the assumption that they had integrated him back into class. He never said anything. He just came home for Christmas break like nothing had happened until his grades came through. And I remember vividly losing my mind that night, sitting on the edge of the bed and calling his coach. And by then it was too late. Had Earl spoke up and said, hey, this is what's going on, it would have gotten handled. And he chose to handle it himself, because I'm assuming that's what he wanted to do. And now that it's cut completely from his life, he just, you know, he'll get up and go to work every day, and he'll pay his bills, and you know, he'll do what he has to do around the house. But unless he's doing something of that nature, he's in his room behind closed doors. He'll let the dog in there, and he'll come out to eat, and literally
And this is why I said there that before you showed up, I said a man teaches his son how to be a man, and a mother teaches him how to be a gentleman. You're at the end of the rope. You
Yes,
can't
I
reach
am.
him. But there's nothing that says that his father putting his arm around his shoulder and saying, "Listen, I know you lost. Let me help you." Man to man won't make a difference. That's an assumption. He may
No,
be able to reach him, but you will never know if you don't try.
Oh, I would be totally willing to do that because looking at him in the state that he is now, and you're absolutely right, sweetest young man you ever know. He really is. Would never disrespect a woman. Everything that I liked about being a girl and how I like being treated by a man, I taught my son that. This is
Right,
what girls like. This is what girls don't like, and he took that to heart.
right.
But this right here, and I tell him all the time, I don't know anything about football except for what I see on TV. I know when a win is a win and a loss is a loss. I really don't know the ins and outs, but I don't know how to reach this young man at all. No matter what I say to him, I feel like it's going in one ear and out the other. And my daughter was just sitting here talking to me about how we're going to make some moves, and she was like, there's nothing wrong with family therapy. And I was just
I
like,
was,
you
you know
think?
what?
And
And
she
that was
was
something
like, there's nothing wrong with that.
I was going to ask that, but Scorpion, what I'm trying to get you to understand is this. Let's say he comes back here, and I'm in Niagara Falls, and he sits with his father. He still has to take the impetus to employ anything his father tells him. And if he doesn't, Rebecca's still at the same place that she is now. That's why I say it's up to him to move forward.
And the
Everything.
reason why I said
Hold, hold,
that,
hold on. I know. Trust me. I understand why you're saying it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying until it's like this.
Know how.
They say knowledge is great. Knowledge is only great if you implement it and you use it. So no matter what he is told by whomever, he still has to take the steps necessary to implement that change so he can get the desired results. I can give you money all day to do this, to do that, but if you don't do what you're supposed to do with the money, then you're still in the same situation,
Yeah.
whether you have the money or you
Yeah.
don't.
I
the
like
Well,
only
her
let me.
reason
comment.
I
She
said
says
that, the
sometimes they
only
can't move
reason,
forward because they don't know how. And I
Right,
totally agree with that. I
right,
just, I
the
absolutely.
just,
only
and
reason
I don't
I
know what to
said
do
that,
neither.
the only reason I said that is because she says there's some things he just ain't talking to her about.
No,
Now, my
he's not.
husband's family,
He's
the
not.
men in his family will get together with this young man and they would have a conversation because he'll be able to talk to them in a man to man way in which he can't talk to his mother, or he feels that he
But
can't talk to his
you're
mother.
making a
I'm not
statement.
saying, wait a minute, I'm not saying that's not going to need some steps or some actions on his part,
But
but
maybe
I'm
there'll be
saying
a catalyst.
the beginning of understanding, the beginning of reason
Yeah.
and wisdom can be entered in. That door can be open where
Yeah.
he's not going to allow her to open it. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all. So
But
at this point, maybe the males will be able to help him open that door. I'm not saying that he's just the older door is open and now it's fine. I'm
Yeah,
not
because it's
saying that.
pretty much women down here. It's me and his big sister. So I mean, I'm to the point where I'd try anything. Shit, I'd stand on
what,
my head and jump up
what,
and
I,
down
what
if
I'm
I
saying
thought it
is
were help.
what I'm saying is this, Scorpion. Short of getting him out of the house and involved in some physical activity is not going to change anything.
Well, let me add to this
But
too.
I mean,
Whatever.
what
Let
about
me add
reaching
to
out
this.
to like his former coaches or something? Maybe they know of something that he could be doing that may help get him out of this funk,
Which,
The
right?
and
one
I
thing.
agree with that. And I think that's exactly what she's saying. It might take a man to do it. It might take a man to just say, you
Exactly.
know, they might just be the catalyst. Yes, Earl is going to have to do the work, but I agree that it might take a man to say it to him. Maybe it's because I'm just mom that, you always gonna be there, you always gonna love me, and you always gonna hug me and tell me it's gonna be okay. Maybe my words don't carry any weight no more. Maybe he needs a man to kick him in the ass or pat him on the back, or show him something different. That I'm not against anything at this point, because he's
Well, let me.
definitely struggling.
Well, let me say this. Whatever. his father or other man, they could drop jewels and all that stuff, but I don't know if this is a man woman's issue. I
Right.
think this is a connection thing that you have to have been through this, and most people can't say they had something removed
Right.
from them without it being out of their control. So
Right.
unless you can relate to it and you have a story to tell that and he says, oh wow, like I didn't know you went through that, coach, I didn't know you went through that, dad, or whatever. He's just gonna look at them maybe and say, the hell y'all talking about? Y'all haven't been through it. You're gonna have to have some connectivity with him in this situation. And not many of us can
And
say
that's why
because
I
of this
said,
pandemic that we
The
have this
former, the
connectivity.
former
Because,
coach. Yeah,
yeah,
I
Well,
don't
I'm a
know.
former athlete. I was track, cross country, and basketball, so I stayed in sports pretty much all year round. So I understand the loss of something that you love so much. But that's what I was trying to get you to understand. Sometimes it takes that special person to be able to reignite a fire, maybe in a different avenue, but give you that passion that can be connected to it. Sometimes you as a mother, all you want to do is fix the situation. You don't want your
That's
child to
me.
hurt. You don't
That's
want
me.
them to be lost. You don't want anything that can be prevented from happening to them. So you're in fix it mode. You're not in I was a three sport athlete. I understand the loss of your passion. I don't know how to help you get it back. I know that this and this. That sounds great, but that's from mama. This is what mamas do. You're doing it your whole life,
Yeah.
his whole life.
see,
So that's what he's expecting.
see, the issue is with some people they can say they got injured or whatever. He's totally healthy, mind, body, and soul, and it's been
Yeah,
removed of something that he don't understand. We don't understand. What the hell is COVID and all this stuff? Why has it put my life on hold? Time is going by. That's the bigger issue, whatever. It's not an injury or something like that. It's something out of our control. Why is this
yeah.
happening? And no one has the right words to tell him how to feel and what he should feel, whatever, unless you've been through it. And that's
You don't need to
empathetic
tell him how to
listening.
feel. I think if it was me at this point, I think the only thing that I would be able to do is say, listen, I know this is going to end. I know you want to coach. Let's see if you can figure out new coaching plays or try to tie it in for the keep his mind moving,
He
even if
I
it's
feels
have
Bob.
he
I
feels
promise
he's
y'all,
losing
I have
time.
tried
He's losing
man,
everything.
time. He's losing time. He feel
Yes.
he's losing time, whatever. Who says this?
He
Who says this won't go on for 2 or 3 years, and then
Right.
it's time that he has to go on without doing that? You know how painful that is, whatever.
He he has been
hey,
he's been watching like
cut it
the,
out.
I guess the guys that were on the freshman team or JV when he was varsity, a lot of them scholarship, and he went to the games to support, but whenever he came home he was just kind of like, and trust me, I've tried all of these things. Let's try this, let's go run, let's get back into long jumping, anything, let's anything. And he just, I don't know. I don't. I've tried to
What
guess. I've tried
the,
to help.
the one thing
Um,
The one thing I would say is he don't need nobody bombarding him with let's try this and let's try that.
well,
He gonna have to. Yeah, he's gonna try
I've
to.
stopped.
He's gonna have to figure it out and find out and work through this. Whatever. That's the worst thing. That's probably the worst thing. When he's ready, he'll come out. He'll talk about it, and then if you have something to offer, it may lead him to like, all right, I feel a little better. But people talking and your ass ain't been through it is not as valuable as you think. And I don't care who you are.
Right.
So I think he probably just need a little
Well,
space and he's gonna go through it. He's
you
just gonna
know,
go through it
only
right
been
now.
grown for
as a
2 years.
parent, you can always come up with, as we've all lost something that has caused us some sort of stress in our life, whether it's a loved one, a job, sports, whatever. Um, I have been scrapping all my life, and no shit. I really have. I fought hard to get where I am. My oldest son is disabled, and when that happened, it forced me. I was out here in these streets walking with two kids on my back at one time, carrying groceries through the snow. trying to make that shit happen, and I'm not exaggerating a little bit. I raised 3 kids by myself, no child support, put them through college on my own dime. I've had no choice but to get up and work hard. So even with trying to tell him my journey about the difficulties in my life and the things that I lost, my twin committed suicide, and the things that I had to fight through to get back, to keep it moving. Unless you're telling me it has to be sports related, I feel like every parent will probably be able to tell their child about something that they have lost in their life, that they had to make a decision. It's either going to kill me or I'm going to kill it and keep on going. And I've been down that road with Earl, and not to take anything away from how he's feeling. I just don't want you to think that I have tried everything. I'm to the point where I have left
And
it
I
in
respect
prayer.
that.
That's where I am. I have put it to prayer, into earnest prayer, and left it there, because I have exhausted everything that I can to help this boy understand that his life has to keep moving forward, because it truly does. It has to keep moving forward.
And
And
like we said the other day, there's no timetable, whatever. And
I
you're doing what a mother should do. You're exhausting all avenues and everything. So you're not doing anything wrong. It's just it has to be something, and he only knows, and God, when that connective piece is gonna connect together, and then the light bulb's gonna go off, and you're like, you know what?
well, it's killing me.
Yeah,
Well,
So
and you
listen,
say
he's
what?
20 years old. He's
he's
20
20.
years old.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
we expect him to, when we're parents and we have fought and went through the mud and the muck, we expect them to be able to do what what we
I'm
did,
guilty
because it
of
was
that.
necessary. He
I'm
doesn't
guilty
have
of
any
that.
children. I am too. I think all parents are. He doesn't have any children. He's 20. At 20, you are just beginning. See, it's not so much that he lost sports so much as he's lost his identity.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you don't know who you are, you don't know how to put those pieces back together. Helping him find his identity is probably the best way to get him forward, but that may take counseling. Who knows? He's 20. So
And
I
I
want to
try
say this
to,
too
I keep
before you
reminding
got on
myself
here.
that on a day, when I was 20, I was out there in the world doing shit. I had a full-time job already, paying
When I was
bills in my
20, I
mother's
had 2
house.
kids.
It was just a
I
whole
had 2
different,
children.
you know what I'm
Oh,
saying? And I really try not to go back to that. Well, 30 years ago, we was doing this and this. I know in my mind I think that, and I really do spend a lot of time self-checking myself to make sure that I'm not that type of parent talking about this how it was for me, this how it's going to be
Yeah.
for you type thing. But I do have an expectation that
right.
if something
Listen,
is wrong, I need to know, not because I'm nosy. I need to know, if nothing else, just for FYI, damn it. I need to know. And he just won't, he will not.
There's a saying in
here's what I
counseling
told
101.
you.
There's a saying in counseling one. Don't compare, identify.
You're right.
Don't compare.
Right.
Learn
Don't
that the
compare your
hard way.
situation. Try to identify what he's going through. And
But that's all I have, that's all I
Remember,
have, is to compare
I told
his
you.
life to mine. And it was my daughter who told me, was stop basing your success on our success, because we are
Right.
who we are. You did your job. You raised us. The choices that we make now aren't supposed to be a reflection on you, but I feel like they are.
No, and that's what
Because you're a
that's
parent.
what I was
But
alluding
I
to
was
earlier.
going to,
He's he's at a point in time now where he, for better or worse, he has to find his way. Because at his age, I was already making adult decisions. I didn't graduate high school until I was his age, but I knew intrinsically, just because of everything that had happened beforehand, that I was in control of my own destiny. That everything that I made, every decision that I made from that point forward, I had nobody to blame but me. So whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, I was responsible. I had nobody else to blame. My mother did what she was supposed to do. The community did what they were supposed to do. The school system did what they were supposed to do. Now it's my turn. I'm in the driver's seat. I'm got the wheels of this car. Where am I taking myself to? And that's what he's going to have to figure out. So even, and I would encourage you actually to send him back here. And I'm here. You know where I am. And if he want to hang out for a while, I'd be like, look, man, you're at a crossroads in your very young life. You have everything that you need to do to be successful. The question is, what do you want to be successful at? And that's something that nobody can answer but him. Even his father, who was heavily involved in athletics, can't make him do anything that he doesn't want to do. And this is why I was saying what I was saying earlier, Scorpion. I didn't find out who I was going to be until about 10 years ago. And that was when my boy got me involved in politics. Other than that, I was just happy working, paying my bills, going on vacations and doing things. But now I have a different purpose. This may be the bridge for him to find another purpose. Just like when a lot of players from sports retire, they need to find something to fill that void. Right now, he's experiencing a void. And it's just like David said, there's no physical reason why he should have to experience a void. None of us know what the new normal will be or if we're going to go back to our old normal. So we have to find a way to adjust. We have to find a way to tack into the wind, to use a sailing reference, to find out where we're going from here. Me, I'm writing. These riddles that I give out here, they're a bridge to another portion that I want to do. I have about 4 or 5 concepts that I'm developing. Right now, I'm looking to incorporate myself. I'm looking to start investing in stocks. All these things that I tell you guys when I say develop a list, this is why, because you never know when an avenue stops and you have to switch gears and move on to something else. This is why your hobbies become important, because your hobbies allow you to take up idle time. So where you're not sitting out, I'll tell you now, I have game systems galore, Nintendo, PlayStation 2. I haven't turned those things on in about 3 years because I'm busy doing so many other things. My not-for-profit organization, the mentoring group that I'm struggling to get off the ground, those things occupy my memory consistently. Even when I'm at my other job, I think of a word and I'm thinking of how to incorporate it in a riddle. Just the riddle that I made, the riddle that I came up with tonight, I came up when I was in the tub getting ready before the show. I was like, I could use that. I could use that in a riddle and see if somebody can figure it out. See, I'm always.
But what happens when you're grown? I mean, you're grown, and so you've been doing some things with your life. What do you do when you're young, and every hope, dream, and aspiration you had, the catalyst for that was taken away?
But this is.
You know what I mean?
No, I do. But this is the thing. It hasn't been taken away. It's just been delayed. Because
tell him that, because
no.
if you ask him that,
and that's why I'm not averse to what you and Scorpion are talking about as in terms of sending him back here, because it could be just a change of scenery that gets him to say, okay, you know what? I've never been ice skating. I've never been skiing. I've never done any of those activities because he's predominantly raised in a warm weather climate. So I put on a pair of ice skates. Well, what's that?
That's true. The boy ain't never seen snow.
Listen. I don't think none of us had an answer, but what we can say to him, we never been through a pandemic. But I'm here to go through this battle with you. Whatever you need, whatever I can do, I'm there for you. I can't even give you suggestions. I can't tell you how I feel, but I'm in whatever you need, son or nephew or whatever the case is. I'm here to go through this battle with you because I've never been through this. And you make it seem like it's bigger than life what he going through, that you understand and you're empathetic. But I'm here for you. So whatever you need. So then he'll start thinking when he had those alone moments,
right?
You know what, let me get out this funk or whatever. Well, Mom, I came across this idea. What do you think about this? Now you happy because he's just talking to you now. Now you roll with it. Let's do it. Let's do it. Because he's smiling. He's happy. So that's how I think you have to approach the situation. Because we can talk all day long about our experiences,
Yeah.
They never been
They don't-
told, oh, you got to work virtually. You can't come in. You got to wear a mask. You got to do all this shit. You can't play sports, whatever. We just talking. We just talk. You can go to church all day long. I don't give a damn how many times you go. You just talking.
Okay.
Back
I'm
to
just
that.
saying
The
I have
back to
tried. I've
not
tried
to
it.
be successful, but a try. And like I said, you and Scorpion, I would encourage you to send them back here.
I was gonna say Rebecca to me is a classic example. Before you got on the show, we were talking about mothers and fathers and a bunch of other stuff. And you're gonna have to rewatch the video in order to actually get the scenario. But to me, this is a classic example of a single mother.
Yeah.
And
I
so
am that.
if you saw the situation, the same situation with her child that you did with the other kid,
I couldn't.
would you still have the same opinion?
You
But
can't.
again, I don't think it mattered if he was a single father with him in this situation.
Right.
It still wouldn't change the situation if he
Right.
was with his dad and
Right.
suddenly his life stopped and stuff he was passionate about. It wouldn't matter who was there.
Well, no, she's
Jesus
talking
could have been
So I
there.
was talking about the
She's
previous
talking
He's talking
situation
about
with
would
the
he
boy
have
running down the
interceded
street
if
with
he had seen a
what
father having that same interaction with his son.
Scorpion. The reason why we can't apply this to her is because her and I know we've known each other as kids. So the
but that's
situation.
still
Hold on,
see that's the thing.
hold on. I
Somebody needs
would
to bring me up to speed
because what we were talking about is a mother that was fighting with a teenage son.
oh,
She's already said she would never
Physically
do that.
fighting.
I'm not fighting. We're not fighting. It's just he's
No, no,
struggling,
no,
and
no.
I
But that's
guess
what we were. That's what we.
It
That's
was
what
the whole
we started
scenario,
out
child.
with. Was a mother fighting with a teenage son who was on house arrest, who was trying to get away from her, and she was chasing him down. And
And the reason
what I was
why
saying,
I said that, the
and what I
reason
was
why
saying,
I was
if he's going to leave, allow him to leave, regardless if he's under house arrest, because he's running from a situation that he knows is going to end badly. And then the conversation just morphed on from there. The reason why it wouldn't work between her and I is because I know her on a personal level. So I would have spoken to her differently. I said I didn't want to be involved in what they had going on because I already knew the toxic situation between him and his mother. Like I said, it
I was
wasn't
saying,
new to
the part that I was trying to address is when you said to him, just like your father doesn't entertain your mother's foolishness, don't entertain. Now, you may do know her. Um, you didn't know that other lady,
but
but
what I'm
what
saying
you
is
had said that wait a minute, what you had said that to her child.
what I'm saying is this. It does no man any good, regardless of his age, to get into an argument with a woman, especially in public. It's a no-win situation. So why would you want to engage somebody in a no-win situation?
it don't pay to argue with me.
Are you asking me
Oh,
for an
that was
answer?
my point.
You don't
That
listen.
was my point with him. Don't argue with her.
You're a 15-year-old child, a 16-year-old child. There's certain I always encourage my kids. In fact, they tell me too much. My kids is the kind of kids that are so open, they tell me stuff that I really do
All right,
not
Scorpion, I want you to do
want
me a
to
favor.
know.
I want you to have this discussion without invoking anything about your personal life.
Okay, well, other kids. I told you I ran a mentoring program, but anyway, the point that I was making is that you know her, okay, right? You know her, right?
And I
So
want her son the same
because you
thing. Don't argue with the woman.
I'm saying because you know her, would you have still given her child the same
I just said
manner?
I tell her sons the same thing. Don't argue with the woman.
A woman or their mother?
She's a woman.
Yeah, see, and I think that may be a different level, whatever. When you say woman
Mhm.
and a mother, mother
That's what I said.
demands more respect, whatever, than just a generic woman. So he don't have, no, he shouldn't argue with his mother. He need to take time and listen, and that's why I think a mediator or something in between. But I think the whole dynamics of the situation wasn't clear because I think you could have been a major outlet for the mother as well as him because of the
That's
role you played in his life.
that ship had already sailed, David. That ship was 2 or 3 years out of port. That's why I was saying we're always talking about after the fact as opposed to before the fact.
Hmm.
It's the old adage. It's easier to raise strong men than it is to repair them. We don't understand, or let me not say we don't understand. We don't fully grasp certain concepts until after the event has already occurred. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, but we want to apply the cure after the diagnosis. Let's start before we have to get the diagnosis so we don't have to worry about the cure.
Yeah,
This
but
is what
there's no perfect
So you
parent
choose.
out there.
no, I'm
There
not.
really
I mean,
isn't, male
yeah,
or female. There's no such thing as a perfect parent, and no kid comes with a instruction manual to tell
thank
you how
you.
to raise them. Because
No,
My
let me tell you,
what I'm
my
I
saying
got
is
my
a
this.
middle
6-year-old that
child,
make me want to chop in her throat some damn
girl,
days,
preach that.
but I can't do it because I would lose my teaching license, and I
You
have
know,
others to support. So
What,
my
what
I
I'm
fall
this,
short, and I
You
my
just say,
can
you
do
know
it.
what?
You just can't
I'm gonna give you
leave
a pass,
bruises.
and I'm
That's
gonna walk
all.
away from this instance, and I'm gonna let you live to see another day. But I want
my
you to
mother,
think about
yeah,
what you just said and what you just did.
my middle child turned out differently from everybody else. Now I don't know if it's because she's a girl and they're boys. I don't know. I don't know if it was her genes. I'm
They're all
just blessed that
unique
it
and different
happened.
individuals. That's all.
And
No
there you
people the
go. And I'm
same.
gonna
So
take it on. However God blessed me with that, I'm gonna roll with that because she gives me very, very few problems. And it's not to say that Earl is a bad kid, and who knows what would have happened if COVID hadn't hit. The same thing could have happened. I don't know, but this is where we are. But kids don't. To every parent goes into parenting with good intentions. At least I
Mm-hmm.
hope and that they're going to
Mm-hmm.
do the right thing. And most of the time we base it off of how we were raised. We're going to go in one or two directions, totally away from how we were raised
right,
or totally in the direction we were
right,
raised, or we going to pull the good out, leave the bad, whatever the case may be. But you ain't going to know how that shit turned out until they're like 22, 23 years old and they out there in the real world making
correct,
real world decisions.
correct,
You're not going to know. We still expect them to, screw up
And here,
at 16, 17, 18, but at least be conscious, of right or wrong.
right.
So that whole
and her.
ounce of prevention, all of that, it really don't, because I can look back at each one of my kids and be like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And her, don't
mm-hmm.
you dare tell
And I
me
think I'm a great
again,
parent, but
her, don't
clearly
you
I
tell
made
me
mistakes.
again not to speak from my experience, and you will sit there speaking from yours. Don't you
No,
tell me that no more. I let it slide a
Scorpion,
few times you
Scorpion,
said it.
Scorpion. The,
Because
the
that's
reason
all
why
we
I
got.
do this is
But that's
because
all we have.
a lot of women they will talk about the general until they can't defend it, so they revert back to themselves. The only time
It's still general.
That's
hold
not
on,
true.
hold on. The
Thank
reason I will do it is to give an example of something.
you.
But
No, no,
I
no,
understand
no.
I
that
don't
my
care what your reasoning is. You don't get to tell me I can't speak about my experience, and you can speak about yours,
I
especially
asked
before
you,
you get to
can
the end of
you?
my.
I didn't say do it. I said, can you speak from an experience that is not yours? Can you implies asking
Check your friend.
consent.
Right. Can you speak from one that ain't your experience? No, because you do it all the time. So
We
don't
speak
give
actually,
me
from
the
in all
experience.
actuality, listen. In all actuality, I think it's better when we speak from our experiences, whatever, because
Because they're
we're
real.
passionate to it, and yeah, it's real, it's
You ain't
authentic,
trying to.
whatever.
You don't have to
Yeah.
make up anything. You could actually speak a fact
So that's
that
that's
this
the
is
feedback
what it
you're
is.
adding. That's the feedback you're adding from your experiences, because nobody's experts in this, and I don't give a damn. You
And
got
it's a different
PhD,
perspective.
PhD,
Somebody
or whatever the
something
case
different.
is. Nobody's an
Let me
expert
tell you
in this
something.
stuff.
The stuff you learn in school is not factual. It's not reality. I have a degree in human services that goes from infancy to death. It's not necessarily all the time information you can use. You can take those concepts and you can try to plug them in, but because these children and people are not textbook copies of what they say is in that book, you can't always use that information.
Trust me, there's nobody on this panel that understands what I'm discussing more than me. I'll lay my life on the line with that statement. You know why? Because I've been a foster child. I've been in and out of foster care. My mother put me out at 16. So trust me, I don't speak from my experiences because they're not indicative of the whole. When I do
Neither
go for
does
my
she. Neither do I, though.
no, hold on, Rebecca. What I'm trying to get her to understand is this topic is not from my personal experiences. This is something I saw that happens that is never discussed.
Well, let
Was
me
that not part of
well,
your
let me ask
experience,
this.
though? Were you not part of that experience?
No, I wasn't.
Yes, she was.
No, I
Did you
haven't
grow
I'm
up
not
with
seen
dealing
your
it.
with you
dad?
right now.
Did you grow
You
up with
didn't
your dad?
interject,
No,
like
no,
you didn't
Rebecca, I'm
insert
talking about.
yourself
I'm
into
not
their
dealing with him.
situation, right?
Hold on, Scorpion. Rebecca, I'm talking about the fighting between the mother and the teenage boy. I never
You
did that
didn't
with my
get an opportunity to fight with your mom, though, right?
no, but I never
Right?
would have. It
Because
just
you
that was
didn't
something
fight
that never
there.
would have occurred. That's what I'm saying.
You might be
But
saying
who
that, but
better
you did step into that situation.
who better than to hear speak the truth than mothers who have actually fought with their teenage sons? A statistic
No.
is anything, but to hear it from somebody to tell you how that shit really goes down and how it plays out in the aftermath and blah blah blah, you can't beat that. You can read about anything anywhere, but to listen to a mom or a dad talk about what it's like to be a foster kid or from an abusive household or to have great parents, whatever the case may be, why wouldn't you want to hear real facts?
That's not
Why wouldn't
no.
you want to hear somebody's real journey about how that went?
Hold on. From what I understand of Scorpion and her
You should
kids,
want
she's
to hear
never,
that.
no, hold on. From what I understand of Scorpion and her kids, she's never had a physical fight with them. That's what I'm
No, wait
talking.
a minute. Wait a minute. I punched my son in his diaphragm before. You know
That's what
why?
from what I
And
understand.
I'm gonna help you. My
Okay.
son, my son is
I'm
6'5".
going to get a glass of wine.
Okay, he was a tall boy. My
Y'all
son
stressing
patted my
me.
head when he might have been about 14. He patted me on the head, and he actually rubbed my head and said, "Ma, I'm taller than you now, and I got a mustache." Now I know what comes next. What comes next is you can't tell me anything because I'm bigger than you now. So what I did was punched him in his diaphragm so he'll understand. Don't play with me, and I don't care how many you get. That's what happens when you're a single mother because you don't have that masculine influence there. And my brother, so he told my brother what happened, and my brother said she should punch you again. And if you ever rise up at my sister, I'm gonna beat you down to the floor through the floor. So there was that one instance in the I did. I really punched
Years.
him dead in his back and knocked the wind out of him because I don't want to go down that road. I didn't have to go down that road with your two brothers. I'm not going down this road with you. So I did. I punched my son in the diaphragm. Now physically fist fighting and all that, like you a stranger in the street, I'm not doing none of that. If I
Well,
have
he
to do
couldn't
that, you have to leave
breathe,
my
so after that, so I'm sure it's pretty much a
But
wrap.
that's my point. This did not occur in the home. This occurred on the street. Had it occurred in the house, I would have had no issue with it because it's something that happened in house. Like I said, I was walking up the street when I heard this, and I walked and saw it. I didn't go in their house. I didn't go in their yard. I was on the street witnessing this.
I get that. I
Hey,
get
Sound
that.
like
my
But
sound
mom
like
that's
used
an
to say,
example.
wherever you show out, that's where I'm gonna show out.
That's kind of
So
like an
I mean,
example of how it can lead to that. Now, my son knew not to he knew not to do anything but gasp for air. Okay, so that wasn't a problem. But I'm saying now with this new generation, when they took, the ability from the parents out of their hands to discipline their children, it
yep.
started something.
Yep.
It
You
started.
still,
Did you
you
see that?
still can discipline your kids. You just can't be obsessive and leave bruises and all
Look,
that.
let me
So
tell
you
you
Now,
gotta
I
something.
be
don't think that.
creative.
Listen,
You
I
gotta
Let me
be
don't
tell
think
y'all a
that
creative.
story.
giving.
You gotta
I
be
don't
When I
think
was a
creative.
giving your
kid,
kid a spanking
when I
should
was
be
a
your
kid,
go-to thing anyway.
So you might have to drag their asses somewhere or whatever the case is,
They
whatever.
still got to go to school.
let me tell you
They
something.
go to school. They
One
go
of
to
my
school. They
sisters,
go to school. They got to go to the nursing. There's no bruises, and then you call social services. They come. They're not gonna come unless the
I'm
nurse
really
report.
not one for laying my hands on my kids.
I'm not
Trust
promoting
me when
that.
I
I'm just
say it.
telling
But
you how it goes
if
down in the school
one of my
system.
kids got out of pocket to the point where I had to put my hands on them, and trust and believe they would really have to get out of pocket, I would make sure that I beat that ass for old and new. I'm not gonna lie, call it right, call it wrong.
See, we got a
I'm
bunch of
being
violent women
honest
on the
about
panel,
mine.
man.
What you're not gonna do is
The
see,
one
you
thing
know
I
I'm
don't
what?
just saying,
understand,
but you ain't
It's
gonna
funny because
disrespect me. You
the one
not.
y'all
thing
brought
I
up
don't
And
the
if
whole
you
understand
taking
is
the
open your
power away
mouth
from the
to
parent.
recognize that, that's just
Right.
what that's gonna be. And I do refrain from violence because I know what it feels like. But what you not gonna do? Damn it. Now that's where I draw the line. It's a lot of shit that people can say about my kids. But what you not gonna do is come out your mouth sideways to me, talking about what, huh, shut up, all that cussing and shit that kids be doing. You not.
Exactly.
Now, if I gotta smack you with a shoe, all I can say is be blessed that your mother is a nurse, because I got you when you come to. But
And that's exactly
and
what I'm
all I can
saying.
do is be honest about me. You not. You want to get your ass out in public? I can get jiggy with it because I'm little, so I'm fixing to pick up something, and I know that I will. I absolutely know that
and that
about me,
and
and I
that and
tell
that's
my
where the
kids,
report
don't make
and
me
that's
act
where the
stupid.
report will be made when you
What
pick
I
up.
was,
And you know
what I
what?
meant,
When I
what
I'm
I
not
meant
gonna
when I was
lie.
addressing that. What I
Tina
meant when I
said,
was addressing that, I was saying that they essentially took the ability and the power
Hell
out of
yeah.
the parent's hand and placed it into the child's hand.
Yep.
So now you've given the power to a child,
All
no
they gonna say
less,
is they're gonna call the
and
police.
"Oh,
and
I
now
agree.
they
no,
respect nothing, they respect nobody.
I
And
agree
no.
in well,
totally.
the
I
state where
agree
See,
with
I'm
it.
from,
see,
the state where I'm
Children,
from, if a child called the police and tell them that the parent done did this or that, put their hands on them, you don't have to have a mark. You're going to jail while they try to figure it out. So you
That's
Oh,
caught a
but
not
by
case.
the
true.
time the police get there, you'll have a
That is
reason for
not
them
true.
to come on and show the fuck up.
The
Because I'm
state
they
fixing to
don't.
where
Because
wear
let me
their
tell
ass.
I'm
you
I'm
from,
not
something.
playing.
My sister, now one of my sisters, when we were younger, she tried that on my mom. You know, we lived right next door to the diapers building. So my sister came at her face. My mom told her to go clean the room or something like that. And my sister was like, I don't gotta listen to you. Mama was like, you don't get in there and clean that room, I'm gonna whoop your ass. And my sister was like, if you hit me, I'ma call diapers. Now, what my sister learned that day is my mother was not completely all there in the head, right? So my mother picks up the phone and handed it to her and was like, go ahead and call them. By the time they get here, I'll be done whooping your ass and they can take you and your siblings out the door with them.
Because there ain't no
My
law
sister
that
put
says
that
I
phone
gotta
down and
keep
went clean
you.
that damn room.
Yep. I remember
so the
being
state
told
where I'm
that by
from,
my mother. There ain't no law that says that I have to keep y'all. I can drop y'all off at the police station at any given time. And we were like, huh, what? And yeah.
let me say, okay, I wouldn't have tried that with my mom because I wouldn't be here today. But in my state, Indiana says that the only legal way for you to do anything to your child is hand to butt. So
Right.
you're gonna put a 16-year-old across your lap and spank them with your
But
hand. I don't think
but
it's gonna be effective. So
this
if
is what I was
you
referencing
call,
earlier.
if she
see,
called,
this is what the problem is. With this country, this bullshit ass country that we live in, that all of that stuff you should be uniform. I mean, some states they say open hand, closed hand, all that butt and all that stuff. No, you're not gonna put. How are you gonna get a 16-year-old across your lap,
exactly.
hit him in the butt, whatever? So that's why we
My grandma used to beat my
screwed as
uncles
a
with 2x4s.
nation. We screwed as a nation. All this stuff is crap. It's all crap. I said it. Yeah, I
And
did.
then some
It's all
things are
crap.
cultural. You have to remember that some things are cultural. Like in
Yeah,
certain
black
cultures,
people beat their
it's
kids.
different.
Yeah,
Yeah.
black people beat their kids. Yeah.
And guess what? So do Hispanic people. They beat their kids, and they make no qualms about it, and I'm not mad at them. The lady,
And and white
she caught a
folks
case.
and white
Well,
folks
they
they
kill theirs,
white
so
folks
you
let their
know.
kids get away, but the kids end up killing the parents. So
I
hey, I mean, what the
again, I
hell?
really ain't one for laying hands on nobody. But if you move me to that, we fixing to get at it.
You're
Again, I'm
small,
too
Rebecca.
little. My son is a good 7, 8 inches taller than me and outweighs me by over 100 pounds. Literally, I would have to smack him in the head with a hammer to get him
You're
to act
small,
right.
like you're
You
small,
know,
like a client
I don't have
that
time for that. I don't have time for that shit. And my kids pretty much know if you make me come after you, I'm coming after you, and I'm really not about that life, but I'll be damned what you not gonna do. I'm too damn old. I'm on the tail end of my life, and you are not fixing to disrespect me. Not right now.
and this is why I was saying earlier, you have to know the situation. 15-year-old young lady decided that she was gonna go out the house, sleep around for the night, go missing for 2 days. When she
I'm fixing to
returned
rip your
home,
uterus out.
her, her father owned his own business, so he wasn't there. The mom was home. So when she returned home and the mama started questioning her, she jumped on the mama. So the mama ended up dog walking her like she should have, but then that opened a case for them. So it's not always, it's not always apparent, because if you hit me, I'm hitting you back. I don't care who you are, you getting hit back. And if I
Girl,
can't
you
beat
know,
You hit me, I'm
my
calling the
mother
cops.
had us
They
so
come get
scared
your
growing
ass.
up that we
By the
lived
time
and
they get
breathed
there,
for
you
her.
might still be breathing. I'm gonna call them for
that
you.
part,
You know,
that part.
we didn't move without my mother
I'm
telling
calling
us to move
motherfucking cops
growing
on you.
up.
Go ahead and hit me.
We
They
didn't do
can have you
shit
when they get here
without
too.
her telling us. My mother could take us into the China section of a store and would never have to turn around because she had
And
us so well trained and so afraid of her that we never misspoke, misstepped, missed anything. When my mother said, when she called our names, we didn't say, huh? We appeared in front of her.
We had the one call rule in my house. My mom called you
Hell
one
yeah.
time. If you didn't show up that
Hell
first
yeah.
time, you was
Hell
gonna
yeah.
catch it when she saw you.
Yeah. Back then, kids were seen and not heard. When grown
Well, yeah,
folks
that
was
was
around, you take your ass upstairs and go
right,
somewhere and sit down.
right.
And let me do stress, there is a difference in discipline and abuse. Now, I'm not saying abuse your kids,
My
because
mother
I
was an
mean,
abuser.
white people beat their kids too, and so on and so forth. I'm not advocating abuse, but I'm saying that I see how that situation played right out, and the girl went straight to court and told all types of lies.
Yeah,
The
well,
thing was, they had already called the police. The police is out looking for you, so there was paperwork to support what the parents were saying. But how dare you jump on your mama because you think you grown?
I'm not
Under my
for
roof?
abuse either, but some of these kids, one is built like grown ass women, and they are grown ass men, and they roll up on their parents like they grown. And my thing is if you have the heart and the gumption to
That's right.
step to
I'm just
me like you're grown, then I'm fixing to beat your ass
And
like
a
a
lot of
grown
that,
ass woman. I need you to feel these hands so that the next time you feel so inclined to step out of yourself, that you have a good recall about what it felt like when you did it.
and
And
a
I
you
lot
don't
of
better
do
not
that
be
with
on
my
this
a lot
time.
of that is
my
a lot of that
kids.
is it wasn't nipped in. It may have not been nipped in the
We're gonna
bud
nip it in the bud on
at a
that
young
one, buddy.
age.
See,
Either
At a
you
young
gonna learn
age.
or I'm gonna learn.
See,
But
some of y'all
one of us is
talking.
gonna get taught tonight.
Some
And
of y'all.
I use that rule growing up with my kids for everything. If you get your ass out in the street and you're doing something, the only thing I need you to think about is how is my mother gonna react when she find out? And if you think the reaction is not gonna be good, run. Run.
That,
Run
that's that voice of
with all your might, because
that's
I 100% have my kids back until I don't.
well, that's
I
that
don't.
voice of reason and criticism that kids need to understand and say, what would my
Fuck that.
mother or my father would say, whatever. But for some parents, you better pack your lunch, whatever, with some youngins when you done got out of shape and you like a donut eating cop and you want to go for the long run with these kids. You may not survive that battle. And
I'm a survivor.
the worst thing would be for your kid to whoop your ass. Then you're done. Then you're done.
Exactly.
You
So
gonna
you
die
better
that
be in
night.
shape. You better be in
You gonna
shape
die
for it,
that
whatever.
night.
You better be in
If
shape
one of my
for it.
kids beat my ass, the only advice I have for them is thoroughly enjoy it. I need
Mm.
you to enjoy the ass whooping that you give to me, because when you wake up, you're going to be looking at death.
I was about to say,
Period.
you
Y'all
gonna be
talking real greasy right
If
now.
you
Y'all
give me
talking
a
real
chance
slick
to
right now.
survive, I will blow an air embolism in your ass. You'll never know what the fuck
Y'all
hit you.
talking real
I ain't the
good.
one.
But you know what though?
I
When you
ain't the
like
one.
this,
And me and that syringe. Me and that syringe. Me and that syringe. So do what you gotta do. I ain't no hater. At the end of the day, I ain't no hater. If you feel like, as your parent, that you can lay hands on me and lay me out, I need you to go ahead and enjoy that experience, because it will be the last one. And I promise you, on everything that I live and breathe and die on, that's gonna be
well,
the last time you do that
well,
shit.
we hope that it don't get to that point, and we
And
hope
now with
that
mine, it
they
won't.
have that respect and they understand where you're coming from, and you've been a model of consistency, and they know mom ain't playing. Oh, mom is really mad. Oh, dad is pissed off. I know when he's pissed. And
Yeah.
it's those non-directive things that usually kids say, I ain't yeah, they mad. She's mad or he's upset. But when they don't have no fear of anything, and some of these kids don't have fear of anything, then that's a problem.
I don't understand that.
When you work in a school building, you say, I'm about to call your mother. They say, go ahead, call them. They ain't gonna do anything.
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I'm a special education teacher, right, by trade. This is what I do during the day. And I have
Bless
students
you.
that are like that. They tell me, oh, my mama ain't gonna do that. I had a student roll up on me one day, and I love the fact that I am who I am because I'm always calm under pressure. I had a student roll up on me one day talking about, we have cameras in our classroom. And she was like, let me sit down before I have to smack the shit out of her. And I said, baby, that camera works both ways. I said, let me explain
I
something.
know that's
I'm going
right.
to teach you a lesson today. I said, you slap me. I'm going to eat that slap, but I'm going to fall out for this camera like you tried to kill me up in here. And by the time it's over, your ass will be out this building. You'll never be back.
Yeah.
My
Yep.
kid
This
looked at me and was like,
lady
something's wrong with you. I said, it sure is. About time you realize they put you in the room with the crazy for a reason. Why me? Why me? I'm going to
I'm
eat
just
your
saying.
hit, but I'm going to fall out for that camera like you tried to kill me. I'm going to crawl across the floor and everything. Let's do it. Let's see who wins this battle because I'm all about winning the war. I don't care
You
about
know
the
what?
battle. I'm going to win the
You know
war.
what? You know
Let's
what,
go for
Latoya?
it.
You know what, Latoya? And what made you probably win that battle because you spoke their language, and
Right.
they knew you wasn't playing. I can
They-
remember a time I worked. I was they wanted me to substitute in this special ed class at this at the elementary level, and the kids were saying, "Oh, Mr. Glover, we gonna see if we can make Mr. Glover cry." I said, "I said what?" I said, "The day y'all make me damn cry." And what it was, like I said, relationship building. And I said, I don't know who else y'all ran out of this class, and I'm only in here for these couple days, whatever. I said, ain't no way in hell I'm gonna let y'all. Y'all better pack y'all damn lunch.
I'm
I said,
telling
and
you.
I went through all of them, and I named their relatives, whatever. And they're
That's
like,
even
oh, you know
worse.
my
Who
mother,
your
you know my
grandmama
aunt,
is.
you know such and such. All right, Mr. Glover, we gonna chill, whatever. But that was the relationship building. But they were gonna make me cry anyway. But they had made people cry and resign and leave out of there. I said, oh, y'all better pack y'all little lunches, whatever, and get ready to get back on that little cheese bus that y'all go get on.
you told that story about your student. You told that story about your student in my son's class, and my son was in a special needs class. He's dyslexic. So they had the little girl. This little girl was like, "Oh my God," like for real, like, "Oh my God." So she would go home and tell the mom that the teacher was picking on her, when in fact that little girl terrorized the school. So she brought her mom up to the school. Her mom said, "I'm coming to the school. I'm about to whoop this teacher. She ain't gonna mess with my baby no more." That teacher beat her tail from one end of the hall
She
to
was
another
supposed,
and
she
back
was
to the
supposed to.
beginning. And when she got done whooping her, the police promptly arrested her and took her child to CPS.
Yep.
So when you have these type of examples, you don't know what these kids are doing. I mean,
Yeah.
you might think you're doing better than your parents did. I'm just saying. She beat that child. And I was there for the whole
These
thing. Like,
these
yeah, get
kids
her,
ain't
girl.
no
Get her
joke
right
these
there. Get her.
days. These children ain't no joke these days. They
They
ain't
not.
nothing like how
They
we were when
really
we was
aren't.
growing
Like
up.
they have no fear, and I'm just like,
None,
let let
none,
let, let me school you to some game.
none.
You can say what you want, but I'm gonna use
You
all
know,
the street knowledge I know to make sure I win this war. So let's play.
man,
If
back
you
in
don't
the
know
day,
what I know, I got years on you, baby. I got years on you. You can learn a thing or
back
two
in the
from me.
day, 10th and East Fall Street was just full of kids. It was full of
Woo!
kids
Yes, it
between
was.
10th Street, 12th Street, 13th Street. It was full of kids.
Yes,
And
sir.
you couldn't go nowhere without a parent bringing you home talking about, I saw your kid doing this. And then you would get your ass beat by that person. And then you would get your ass beat by your parent because you cut up in the street and somebody else saw the shit.
Yep.
You know,
Yes, sir.
try doing that shit today and you liable to get
Real.
shot by a parent.
Well, that's
These
Or
because
the
kids ain't,
9-year-old child carrying a gun. The 9-year-olds carry
man.
guns. 7-year-olds.
We ran in
So,
packs back then. We would just get
Yeah.
our asses beat collectively. If one was being,
exactly.
you know,
I'm
we
telling you,
was,
my
because we
grandma
was
used to
all
line
doing the
us up and
same
just go down
raggedy
the
shit
line
back
whooping
then.
ass.
You know, and actually, and truth be told, the stuff we was doing back then didn't even warrant for you to get spanked and
Yeah.
shit.
Right.
It was age
Compared to
appropriate
today,
behavior.
you know, and it's just not the same. I was just a family of three. It was just me, my brother, and sister. But I think at that time, the Lewises, y'all was definitely one of. It was so many of y'all, we couldn't nobody keep track. But we
You
was
need a basketball
definitely like a
sports team.
small. It was just a shitload of us growing up. We had to have at least 30 kids on the block.
Oh, you know
Easy.
the funny thing about what you just said is we hadn't all been together until our mother's memorial service. It was all 11 of
I
us.
didn't
That
know
was
you existed. I
yeah,
didn't even know you. I grew up with Vincent and
yeah,
Lafayette. I didn't
yeah.
even know you existed. I thought it was just them, but you know, again, your mama was a legend. I'm not going.
But
Your mama
that's why I
was a
tell people
legend. Your mama
my
was a
my mother's cut from a different cloth. Okay, and when I say she cut from a different cloth, I mean she would cut a guy straight razor, no bullshit. She would cut him.
My girl.
I was
Okay,
surprised that she had that many kids because I thought dudes was afraid of her. I was just like,
yeah,
how was she getting it in like that? Because your mother was a legend. She really
yeah.
was.
I mean, yes. I
Your
mean,
mom was a legend.
but that's why I tell people, when she passed,
They
it
don't
was
know.
it it because, and
They
I
don't
think part
know.
of the reason was because after she had her cancer surgery, she spent 6 months here.
Yeah.
So I did everything that a son was supposed to do for his ailing mother. So for me, it was just like, okay, you know, when my sister said the in the group chat we have, she said she was making it comfortable because she's ready to go. I had already mentally prepared myself for her moving on. So when I got the text at work, I had just finished up writing a poem about my mother and the legacy she left.
Yeah. Your mama
So
was a
for me, it was just
legend.
like, okay, this is the finality of her existence on this planet. She doesn't need to do anything else. It's up to us to pick up that torch and make sure that when people talk about her, that it's us that
Yeah.
paint her in that light. I don't give a damn what anybody else say about her.
Man, your mama. Ooh, Lord
Only
Jesus. Your
thing,
mama.
the only thing that we didn't have there that we should have had, and which was my hats off to Pastor Brinson, he talked about it, was that we all should have had a 16 ounce of Pepsi. That
Man,
was the only thing
she
that
used
we
to
were
go into
missing.
the candy store and just take candy for us from her. You know, she would just take it. You know, she would just, man, your mother. Oh my God. That woman was, whew. We would see her coming. People would see her coming, and people would either just scatter or just stand still because your mother was just no joke.
So that's why I say, me fighting with my mother? No. No.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Yeah, your mom was definitely one of a kind, dog.
So that's why, but that's why I want to bring these topics to, to the forefront. So we understand that even though physical dissension and aggression occurs behind closed doors, that we need to bring this out because it's the unspoken is where the most harm occurs. I just want people to understand that there's a way to deal with a boy who's being physically aggressive. And this is one of the things that I want to implement with the program. And I asked my supervisor at my other job, I said, well, what do you suggest? Because in our day, what they would do is they would say, hey, look, you want to fight? We go get you dudes and we go put you on the circle of patch of grass and y'all square up. Y'all go hands. Or we go get you some boxing gloves and let you punch each other out. But you're not going to fight your parent. That's unacceptable.
Back
In that
then,
order.
Right.
back then it was unacceptable.
Right. Now it's like the Wild West. It's almost like a free for all. This is why I'm targeting my program to target kids between the ages of 6 to 18 because we understand that the earlier you get them, the easier it is to mold them.
I don't even think it was unacceptable. Out of
it wasn't tolerated
on the screen, was it ever a thought in your head to roll up on one of your parents? Ever? Did you ever consider that in your wildest imagination that you was gonna roll up on your mama or your daddy? Because it never occurred to me to do that. Not once.
I'm in my late 30s, and my mother still tell me to this day, "I brought you in this world. I'll take you out."
It was just
We
never
knew
a
better than
thought
to try
that
my
I
mom. You
would,
be picking yourself up off the floor.
Remember also that a lot of this generation of these kids that well, I can't say that because my mother's only 18 years older than me, but then my grandmother and grandfather was closer, so we had better relations compared to this generation now, where shit, the mother had you when she was like 15, and then your grandparent may only be a few years older than your mother, so everybody is young. Everybody want to be best friends. They don't have there's not this level of respect that we had, and you get respect by marching in a certain line over and over and over, and they know their motto of consistency, whatever. You can't be one way or the other. You can't be a mother or father that's talking this, but meanwhile you're drunk as hell in the 1 minute, you high as hell, and your name is out in the streets, and your kids got videos of you on social media and all that. You have shit to say to a kid when you living like that. But if you be a model of consistency, they know, and you put that down from day one, they gonna respect it. When you don't have that, it's nothing to talk about. You have nothing to talk about. I don't care what you can say, mother, daddy, put your finger in their face, do all of that. The kid just gonna say, whatever, what the fuck ever. Slam the door, go in their room, and they know you gonna go away and go ahead and do your own thing. So
I'm taking that motherfucking door off the hinge.
well, people do
In
that
that
too.
order.
They okay with that too. They okay with that too. They don't care. They'll put on their Dre Beats $300 headphones and tune you out. And most parents are afraid to take it away because you're afraid that they're going to be mad at
Like
you
I
or
said, I
whatever the
believe in
case is.
calling the cops. Slam the door in my house. Your ass is out of here. They can have you.
And the cops ain't gonna do nothing that they in these days. They're not really gonna do much. We know that ain't
Well,
gonna
the
be
people
I
gonna
nothing.
live
feel
in
the way you
Louisiana. I
move.
beg to differ.
All right, listen, we're gonna close it out. We're working on 2 hours and almost 20 minutes. Everybody, like I said, these conversations can go on and on and on. And we're gonna close it out. So who wants to go first with
Yeah,
their
they take your ass as young as
summarization?
timid. They don't care.
I'm
Rebecca?
sorry I was late, but I'm glad y'all let me in. I
Always.
always love having this one there. It was nice hearing you speak tonight too. I always love the woman's perspective. Always am. Baby boy, you starting to come around. I'm loving that. I'm just seeing growth with you every single week, and I'm not gonna lie, I love that. I really do. I think that ever since y'all let more women on, and you really get, you have 3 different women's opinion on something, and none of them is wrong, and neither was yours. And I love hearing that. Y'all just make my heart sing. I look forward to this. I've been out of Bible study fooling with y'all. But I love hearing this. I just do. I don't, it's nothing like hearing my East Coasters speak. And it just makes me feel better about the things that I'm doing, especially this episode as a parent, because I really was feeling lost, but y'all made me feel so much better about things and some decisions that I want to make. So it's always appreciated.
Thank you for joining us, whatever, and not saying, "Oh, I might be a little late, but I'm still coming in," because you always welcome, and that's the deal, whatever. So I'm glad that you got something out of it, and I hope everything works out. Keep us posted, and
I will.
You ain't gotta keep us posted because whenever you come back on, these conversations just gonna keep evolving. So that's how it goes. So
as soon as y'all unthaw, I'll be there.
Good looks. Good looks. Go ahead, Brolic T.
I mean, I'm just it's time for them to go to bed. They doing the most right now. I got a 3-year-old, a 1-year-old, an 11-year-old, and they spend all their day times, and they just taking full advantage of the fact that mommy is having her adult time. And I'm like, man, when I get off of this, I don't know about 3.
Before we go into that, I had a question, whatever. Rebecca, somebody wanted to know they inbox when they said, "Who is your mother?" Who is your mother? Because they said they might know him.
My mother? Well,
Yeah.
she's in her 70s now, but her name is Maddie Johnson.
Maddie Johnson, okay.
So, I mean, but I'm in my 50s, so she in her 70s. So you may or may not know her, depending on how old you are.
Actually, I'm gonna call her out there. It was my mother. She wanted to know because she's almost in her 70s or whatever, and she grew up on the East Side.
Who's your mother?
Grace Glover.
Grace Glover. Where'd y'all live at?
Well, we lived on. We didn't always lived on the. She grew up on the East Side, and when I was younger, but then we lived like on North Avenue and Unity Park.
Oh, you know the Smiths?
Dwayne Smith, them, Vincent Smith, them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're my peoples all day long. My brothers and sisters, whatever. Yeah.
They're your blood kinfolk?
No, they just growing up knowing them, whatever. Yeah.
Do we know them?
Who?
I'm talking to him. Do we?
I do because I went to school with them.
Yeah.
Glover. What? I need to know what street. You need to ask your mama what street she lived on, because that tells the whole story. Growing up,
Memorial Parkway and all of that. She know Herb's mother and all of that. She know Rick and all of them. Lafayette.
Yeah, she's got to know them. Yeah, she has to.
New Hoper? Huh? Did she go to New Hope Baptist? I'm just saying, everybody over there went to New Hope. Because we ain't like the people from St. John's. Their choir was always trying to compete with ours. I'm just saying, when we
I'll find out more details when I talk to her.
A cappella. When we started marching, they started marching. So I just need to know. Because that might mean something. But ask her where she lived at for sure. Because probably. Okay, my grandmother was Letha Cox. She knew everybody.
She listening, so I'm pretty. When I talk to her,
she knew everybody. Yeah, she knew every damn body. And if she didn't, she was going to ask you what your grandmama name was, because all them old people knew each other back then, and wasn't too many of them around back then. So
yeah, that was that close bond we had. All right, who was up?
Her.
Scorpion, I do believe.
Scorpion.
No, her. She never got finished. All she said was her kids needed to go to bed.
Yeah. We saying you're gonna have to drop the hammer on that.
All I was gonna say is that it's a pleasure coming on here. I look forward to Mondays, having these conversations with you guys. It's it's refreshing.
Are you from New York?
I'm from New
Jersey. Okay, I knew I could hear
that accent.
Your verbiage. All right, now go Jets. I'm
All
sorry.
right. Jets. All right. Go ahead, Scorpio T. We're gonna ignore that Jets comment. Go ahead.
My bad.
Go
You had
Bills.
to throw that tag, man. I wasn't ready. I'm just gonna say, it's always good to be here. I do like to hear and learn, and if I can do input, that's always a great thing. Um, I think this platform is good because some of these things definitely need to be talked about, or at the very least, you don't know who's going through something.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, someone tuning in may be helped by whatever it is that one of us could say, or maybe you can give them a different perspective or a different way. You just don't know what people are living with. You know what I mean? So, being able to talk about it, not that I'm all that smart. Well, got that much to say. Aha. But but just being able to have an input in a positive way is a beautiful thing. So
Yes, it is.
Monday night, I was out earlier today. I was like, listen, I got something to do at 8 o'clock. We got to be back. So here I am. And from now on, my closing line is gonna always be to thine own self be true. That's it. That's all.
All right.
That's
Much
right.
love and appreciation. Herb, I know what your thing is.
Buddy, hey, steady Eddie, man. Growth and understanding the curves in the gray area. Godspeed. See you next time.
Yes, it
And
is.
again, like we said, it's all about different perspectives. And the different things we talk about. And we realize certain states do certain things, certain families do certain things, certain cultures, whatever. But the only thing we can do is listen and take ideas and try to implement that in our lives. And as long as you keep having these conversations, it's going to be growth. But don't forget on Wednesdays, we have what we say the smaller segment from my book, Cocktail Conversations. And then it'll always end up being smaller because sometimes we get going and that was only meant to be for like 30, 45 minutes, but we go well into it. So it's going to be the conversation is going to be is white always right, and that's talking about interracial relationships, whatever. So I already know that's going to be a heat up because it might be a conversation. Oh, yeah, beating a dead horse, but we know it's very relevant and it's going on. And sometimes people feel it works out for them, and sometimes it don't. So stay tuned for that, and I'll be sending out stuff, and we'll start talking about that tomorrow and Wednesday, and then Wednesday we'll have a live segment on that. So feel free to join that. If you can't, it's understandable, but you can always watch the watch party. And with that said, we about to get out. I guess I'm back to work again, virtually, whatever. That's a whole nother story. So, appreciate you all for coming in. Appreciate the people who chimed in. Shout out to Latoya for being the three-time champion,
She won it
two
again.
times in a row, the 2 consecutive weeks champion.
Thank
So
you, thank you,
close
thank you.
out the year, and then you starting off
What was the
2021.
answer?
What was
What
the
was the
question?
answer? I never heard it said.
Six.
The riddle is this: you can't spell Hades without this equipment. Now, for some people who know, and for the people who know, or for the people who don't know, Hades is just another word for hell. But sometimes the way they spell hell, in order to avoid from getting in trouble, is he double hockey sticks. Hockey sticks or sticks was the equipment that you needed to spell Hades.
Oh, okay.
Very clever.
Well, Latoya got it. She seemed like she trying to have a firm grip on that title. I don't know, Amy, Tina. Y'all gonna have to bounce back. And I enjoy it all. Whatever the
Rest of the
conversations, the
ladies.
riddles,
That,
huh?
that, where's the rest of the ladies that usually be here?
Oh, Soraya,
They didn't tell.
Soraya just had shout out to Soraya. She just had a her daughter just had a
Oh,
newborn grandchild.
Congratulations.
Think Sage.
Oh,
Sage came into the
congratulations.
So,
world. So once she
oh.
gets acclimated, you know she coming back with fire. You already know. So she ain't
Oh.
disappeared. She
hey,
just
Dave,
to that.
my husband is volunteering to join for next
Oh
Monday's
Lord.
Please do.
conversation.
Please do. The more the
Even
merrier.
things out.
Yeah, the more the merrier.
Oh,
So
honey, my man has a beautiful man, and I love to hear him speak. So yes, baby, bring it. I love
well,
that.
that's good because most women, maybe I ain't gonna say most, many women don't care what they goddamn man have to say. And my grandmother used to always say, sometimes I just let that man talk because he ain't talking about nothing. So I'm gonna leave y'all on that note, whatever. So whenever you believe in your partner, they got something good to say, that's a bonus in your relationship. So we out,
Indeed.
people. Everybody be safe and talk to y'all on Wednesday if you join. If not, we know we'll
New
pick
Year,
up on
everybody.
Monday. All right. Happy
Bye.
New
All
Year, and I
right.
appreciate
Take
you
care.
all.
Be safe.
All right.
You too.
Bye.